Welcome back to another edition of Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Jam-packed show for you. A lot of great sports topics to get into. We'll talk about Texas basketball getting a fresh new commitment. We'll also talk about Texas football in 2024 getting a couple of new commitments in that class. We'll also get into some other news, notes, and nuggets going behind the burnt orange curtain, talking some Texas football. Quinn Ewers getting rave reviews from the Manning camp. Also, you'd be shocked to see where the Big 12 ranks in the overall NIL arms race going on between the Power 5 conferences. We'll talk about that, too, coming up. We'll also get into the Texans. They signed Will Anderson. We'll also dive into the NBA. Dame Lillard's team meeting with the Blazers. What does that mean? Also, there's a trade in the NBA to discuss. My man Patrick is back, so we'll talk about Wemby mania going on right now in San Antonio, right down the way. All of that and more. Before we do, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He's one of the hardest working members for the ARN family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. We don't know what the man is paid, but we're pretty damn sure that he's underpaid, and he's back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, brother?
Oh, man, it's good to be back.
Yeah.
Thanks to Jack for holding down the fort and everybody behind the scenes who held down. But it's good to be back.
You had your vacation. It was fun, so got a chance to hang out.
Got a little chance to hang out,
Got
just relax.
By the beach?
Right down by the beach. It was right by there, so I go down and go down there a few times, go to the
Nice.
pool,
Oh,
just
man.
hang out, have a good, just relaxing.
Yeah.
I had some buddies come down. My family was down there, so it was good.
Beautiful thing. And you picked a strange time considering how much of an NBA fan you are, because it was like one of the big moments of the NBA calendar with the draft, especially as a Spurs fan.
It was. Well,
That's probably why you did it.
The truth was my family picked that date in like December.
Okay.
And so I could either go on another week and not have my family down there and miss the family vacation, not seeing the niece and nephew, my parents, and all that, or I could have gone that week and hung out with the family. So that's why I went.
Got to see the family.
Yeah.
No doubt. It's all about family. You can come back and talk about your damn Spurs anytime. Matter of fact, I think it was a bit of a reprieve because you've just been celebrating the whole damn week with the Spurs picking Wembanyama and making it official. So we'll talk about that. Actually, we'll get into that in the top of the 4 o'clock. All of the different stops. Man, you talk about jet setting. He was all over the place. I don't think he made pretty much all the stops you needed to make for Wembanyama. He threw out the first pitch for the Yankees. He was on Good Morning America.
Yeah.
Man, like I said, it didn't sound like there was enough time in the day. And then he flew to San Antonio to go hang out with the Spurs fans and kick it and have some breakfast tacos. I saw the video of somebody handing him breakfast tacos.
Oh yeah.
Like on I was like, I don't know if it was on a tarmac or whatever, but during the official celebration, once he got there, a couple of faithful Spurs fans, because they heard him say he wanted breakfast tacos, handed him tacos.
They're ready.
Yeah, just ready for him. And I'm assuming he just ate them. Very trustworthy. I love it.
Yeah,
it's great.
He was like, "Oh no, this wouldn't be a problem." And you're like, "Hey, man." Well, I think they were led into the like.
I know.
They were vetted because they had already, it had got out when he was going to be coming to the airport.
Yeah, but still.
So the airport's packed. So I think there was a group of people that got, past security to go hand it to him.
Oh, yeah, I'm not remarking about how you're right. I'm not going dark and sadistic about somebody trying to, poison Wemby. No. I mean, because even my breakfast tacos, there are a few items when you eat, you have to eat them on the spot.
Yeah.
Right, because when they don't travel well. Yeah, they depreciate in terms of their freshness at a rapid rate.
Yeah.
And breakfast tacos is on. I know you can reheat it, but he didn't have a reheating device with him at the time. So Michael would have been like, "Hey man, how old are these breakfast tacos? When did y'all buy them? How long did y'all wait? I need them within a 5-minute window of them coming out of the kitchen."
Yeah,
that's kind of how I'm.
I need a food truck pulled up to the airport. You make them in the food truck, and they hand them to me. I pop them down, and we're good. I mean them in the car, right out of the food truck. I'm good. I'm
assuming because he's such a big deal, that's exactly what they did.
I could believe it.
I'm assuming because Wemby did it. No, we're gonna have these. This is gonna be legit. And he still okay. We'll get into that on the top of the 4 o'clock because he did actually get his breakfast tacos. So we'll talk about Wemby mania because I know and I want to get Patrick's thoughts about all the trades and the draft. Get your thoughts about that too. And there's a trade that is happening or reportedly happening as we speak. And this Dame Lillard news, also big news in the NBA. So we'll get to that, too, coming up. We know the College World Series final is also tonight between LSU and Florida. And that is, we'll get into it a little bit, too. But that game, too, was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that was wild. I mean, I don't know if that's I guess it could be entertaining, but I was just more shocked and jaw on the floor.
Luckily, from all reports, all the LSU fans were too drunk to notice. Luckily.
They have dominated the Jell-O shot challenge.
And apparently drank several places out of booze.
Really?
Yeah, that was the other report, is like the hotel ran out of booze at a certain point, and then like another restaurant ran out of booze at a certain point.
Okay. There you go. Well, at least we know why they were drinking after game 2.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
can you imagine that, to lose like that and then go back to hotel and they're like, oh, no, we're out. Like, what?
Yeah, you got to drown your sorrows after that. For those who didn't keep up, the Tigers, they took it after taking a 3-1 lead through 2 innings. Florida exploded and scored 23 unanswered runs to put the game out of reach. Crazy. That 24 runs were the most runs by any team that has ever scored in a single game at the College World Series. Unbelievable. Anyway, that's obviously a hot topic too. So we'll of course squeeze that conversation in at some point coming up later on in the show. All right, let's start out talking a little Texas football and Texas sports actually, because Texas basketball had a big commitment. As a matter of fact, we can start with the Texas basketball conversation because it's obviously Texas football. We'll get to the commits over the weekend, but. There was a big recruiting weekend for Texas, too, so we'll get into some of the details of that. But this just landed, so this is more breaking news because that other news broke over the weekend. But this happened probably, 4 hours ago or something today. The Longhorns landed commitment from the 4-star guard Chris Johnson. And apparently at one point he was committed to Kansas.
Yeah.
At one point. Oh, actually, they said signee, actually. I don't know how he got out of that. But
well, I think, and this is the deal, I think when Arterio Morris ends up going to Kansas, it kind of takes away what he does. And he knows, all right, now that puts me a spot behind at Kansas because Arterio Morris and me are similar players in some aspects. So if we put him there, then, I'm not going to be able to be the versatile scorer. That's another guy in front of me. Okay. So I'm going to go to where Arterio Morris just left.
Makes sense, especially in the transfer portal game. The transfer portal give it and it take it away. I mean, if you're playing the game, that makes a lot of sense. He's originally, I believe, from out of Houston. Is it Mo City?
Yes.
Stays out of. And, out of 4-star combo guard. Like I said, he was a signee with the Kansas Jayhawks at one point. But this is a big – I read, and this is a little nugget I'm trying to get to. Okay, here it is from On3. So shout out to them. I like this little nugget. He said when he was asked about why Joe's Texas, what attracted him to Texas, he said, another reason is how Texas plays. I watched them a lot last year, and I've been in the gym with a guy like Sir'Jabari Rice since middle school.
Okay.
And I just feel more comfortable going to Texas knowing that it's crazy to throw that out there. He said, and that he said that Rice survived and was successful in the program, and also TJ Ford is a mentor for me. Okay, so we got a lot of Texas ties here.
Yeah.
He said the things he did at that place and the culture at Texas were big. So there you go. Like the way they played, also the ties. The Texas ties are always big.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that is something of, for a guy like that who isn't necessarily the defense isn't the number one thing you're going to see on a scouting report of him, is to go to a place like Texas where the defense wasn't the number one thing on Jabari Rice's either. And you can make the right plays. You can fit into a defense that plays really well, and then that feeds into your offense. And it looked like Rodney Terry, much more than Chris Beard, was a guy that was going to let you kind of, if you got hot, keep giving you the ball. And for a young player, a young guard who likes to score, that's something that you like to see as a coach who goes, all right, I'm going to get down, and when I start going, if I'm feeling it, you're gonna let me feel it. You're gonna feed me the ball, and we're gonna go. And so that may be something that before he may have not felt that way as much, but watching them play this year under Rodney Terry, you saw a little bit more of that. Let's ride the hot hand. Let's go with it. And for a young guard, that's a fun thing to see. That, man, if I hit a couple shots, they're not going to feed it back over and just go, oh, no, this is our guy.
Whatever's working.
Yeah. Working, and when you see with Jabari Rice, you go, man, it was Timmy Allen's a guy, Marcus Carr's a guy, and then he gets hot, and he's getting 20-plus points in a game, even though he wasn't their number one option until in the Big 12 championship game? And
pretty
then it goes
much.
over
That's
to
when he
Dylan
started
Disu.
blossoming, yeah.
And so you just keep going around to when you see that, hey, man, if I get hot and if I go and prove myself, I can go get the ball. That's something that a lot of these younger guys who in today's system, They go, look, you got the number one recruit. Like if Ron Holland's there, you just figure, well, Ron Holland's going to get the ball.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I saw the ESPN's first mock draft. Ron Holland is now the number one overall projected pick next year.
Ooh.
Which is why he's not going to Texas.
Okay.
Which I know it would have been great to get the number one overall pick in Texas.
Hey,
but
yeah,
that is
you got to shoot for the stars.
He is now projected in ESPN's way too early mock draft of next year.
No need to
as
have
the
your
number one
feelings
pick.
hurt about that then.
No, he is projected very high. So I think you want to see, hey, man, there isn't necessarily a straight set number one at Texas. That's not how Rodney Terry coaches. He coaches for let's make them adjust to the new guy. And when they adjust to that, then it leaves the other guy open. And, man, if once they adjust off our number one scorer and they think he's number two or number three, how many points is he going to put up before they have to shift the defense back?
Yeah.
And as long as we can just keep shifting the defense around, they'll never have that point. And good teams are able to do that a lot better.
No, that's a great point because at Texas, it was almost stages of it. Marcus Carr, then Sergio Rice, and then from then on, it felt like there were fillers where guys just had their standout performances, whether it was a Timmy Allen or someone else. And then late in the season, Dylan Dessou.
Yeah,
they just rode Dessou. That's a great point. I mean, that's and the young man said it. You know, that's what attracted him to Texas. He likes the way they played. That's always a great compliment for a coach. Sark has that. Sark's able to perfect segue actually. Sark's offense is aesthetically pleasing. It's attractive. It's stimulating for exciting for young players. I think for A&M they have the opposite issue where they have an offense that's not that exciting. It's not aesthetically pleasing. It's not fun to watch. So it's hard to sell. It's easy to sell Sark's offense. That's why I think he can stockpile the room quarterbacks, a lot of wide receivers, and now we're seeing running backs too. The latest being Jarek Gibson. He is there are a lot of different recruiting services. So just, obviously he is the top. Some people, ESPN has him as the top running back. I think On3 has him as the number 2 running back in the country. So it depends on what service you're looking at. But he chose Texas over Miami, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee. And to short choice is probably looking more like the star here. So you're talking about coming off a draft where there were 2 running backs chosen in the first round, and he can walk into a living room of a running back prospect and say, I coached both of them. Yeah. I coached Jahmyr Gibbs and I coached Bijan Robinson. You know what? You kind of remind me of those guys. And trust me, it ain't true, but that's the kind of stuff they say.
Yeah, I mean it's technically true.
If I say it's true, it's true because I coached them. Who else could say that? Is basically what the short choice would say. Second recruiting cycle to short choice has gone to Florida and poached their top player at the running back position. That is big. You're talking about a football mecca and a fertile recruiting ground for football. C.J. Baxter, of course, was on the Fort Acres now. So, and they also had a running back in this class earlier, Christian Clark, not as highly touted as Jarek Gibson. I think he's considered the number 20 running back in the country. I say not highly touted, but number 20 running back in the country.
Not too bad.
He's pretty damn good. So getting to the point we were just talking about, I think Sark's able to recruit a lot of these big-time players to short choice, give him a ton of credit too, and stockpile them because they see an opportunity to play. And honestly, if he's able to stockpile these running backs, so right, you got Jonathan Brooks still in that running back room. You'll have Keelan Robinson in the running back room. We're talking about 2024, so we're talking about down the line. We're just talking about him stacking the room, right? And you had Bijan and Rojo. Now you're going to have Jay Brooks, Jaden Blue, Keelan Robinson, C.J. Baxter. By the time that older group leaves, you'll have C.J. Baxter, Jarek Gibson, and I'm assuming they're stacking the class with some other guys. I think part of the thing that made them attractive, and I wonder how much Sark will utilize it. I'll probably get into it more in Raj around the day. Their usage of 2 multi-back sets. Last year, they upped their usage of multi-back sets from 2021. It made sense. Your best player, your best leader, are your running back. So put them both on the field together. It made sense. I don't know if it makes as much sense this year, so I'm really intrigued to see if he still utilizes multi-back sets. Now, obviously not as much as he did last season with Bijan and Rojo, 2 NFL running backs in the backfield at the same time. But if he has figured out and with Brendan Marion gone, who pioneered and created the go-go offense, which is a 2-tailback offense with a triple option run game and a West Coast passing game, I do wonder if he'll utilize it this year a little bit more, or since they're so loaded at receiver, if you just see more multi-receiver sets instead of multi-back sets.
Yeah, and I figure he'll still, like, he's a guy who likes to switch it up a lot and throw a lot of different looks at a defense. So you'll still see it enough. It's going to be the usage rate out of it if it's going to be, is he trying to get big plays out of it, or is he just showing it to show a defense it?
That's a good
Is
point.
he going to try and, is it, hey, man, we're running 2 tailback. It's a C gap. Hey, we're running 2 tailback. It's, we're just trying to get 4 yards. We're running 2 tailback. It's a 3-yard play. Is it that, or is he actually running different looks out of it to make a defense really make them look different and run 2 tailback and then throw it deep and just try and throw him off? Because we know he likes to throw deep. So,
we know he likes to throw deep.
So I think that's a question of we'll definitely see it. It's how much are we going to see it in use throughout the offense, of using it in ways that are unconventional and new, and making it to where these running backs that are coming in are going to see it as an opportunity to be part of something where they go, hey, man, so in the same formation, I have 3 run plays, I have 3 pass plays, I can go here, and it's an option kind of play, and I have all these different things to showcase my abilities.
Yeah.
And that's what's more fun for a lot of these players.
Hell, last year they had 3 running backs in the backfield on plays.
Yeah.
They had all 3 of them in back. But to your point, I could see him using it either game plan specific for a certain team. He's like, no, we can really hit them with these specific plays with 2 tailback sets. Or because last year it was closer to being like part of their identity. It made sense, Rojo and Bijan. I could see it now being a more complementary piece that is either game plan specific, or as you just broke out, he's trying to unlock something within the defense. So he's using it to almost troubleshoot and test, kind of test out the defense a little bit and see if where they're vulnerable.
Yeah, I was reading a piece today about Kyle Shanahan using defensive or offensive plays that he knew wouldn't work to unlock a defense.
Yes.
Basically going, hey, I know this is not going to do anything, but if I do this and I can see how they line up, then I understand how to unlock the defense.
Yep.
And so we will see it in that sense. We know Sark will do that.
Yeah.
Is trying to figure out, okay, if I line up this way, how do they line up? But the question is, if you come out of it, and if it works, are you going to stick to it? Are you going to be able? Is he going to? If you go out there in the quarter, if it's a windy day, do you stick to the running game, or do you continue to try and throw deep, even though you're just not having the odds?
Well, this year, the passing game, last year, obviously, the identity was built on Bijan, right? Put some Bijan on it with a side of Rojo. This year, all your assets, all your proven commodities are in the passing game. JT Sanders, X-Man, Jay Witt, hell, even A.D. Mitchell coming in, Isaiah Nayor. They haven't proven it here, but they've proven it at other places. And, of course, Quinn Ewers and the Golden Arm. And the O-line you've been stacking. You brought back all your starting offensive linemen. So I know they need to be balanced. They need to run the ball. And in the Washington game, it was a subpar performance for the running game. But if you're going to ask me the identity of the offense, which should be built on what your strengths are and what you're good at, it's got to be the passing game. It's got to be.
It does. And, I mean, I will also throw in the fact that Keelan Robinson is a guy that he likes to use in those trying to be chunk run plays.
He does.
As a running back and chunk, kind of.
To get to the perimeter.
Yeah, and so that's a guy now that we sit there and say, okay, when they use him in that, we know what they're going to try and do with him. So I agree with you. The position we're trying to figure out is what these younger guys at running back, how versatile are they going to be able to be, and how big of a leash is he going to give some of these younger guys early in the next season, when you basically could give they were off leash. Bijan, Rojo were off leash. Whatever you want, guys, you're running it.
Yep.
You know this better than anyone else on the field right now. And now you have some guys you have to go, hey, I know you want those extra 6 yards. They're giving the ball back when you fight for those extra 6. Like you're swinging that ball out too wide, trying to get those extra 2 yards, and that's a turnover. We can't have that. You have to watch some of these younger guys a little bit more because they just haven't been in those positions.
I know. Yeah, and exactly, until they prove themselves.
And again, when you play in Alabama or you play a really good team like a Oklahoma State that just has a lot of guys that are trained to look for that kind of stuff.
Hell, Bijan Pumble versus Tech.
Yeah.
Versus Tech. I mean, no, I'm with you. I think that until the running back room proves itself, you're going to be relying on that passing game, which is, I think the strength of the team right now. Offense, I should say.
And that leads to the other point of these running backs. Are you going to be good in pass pro? Because if you're throwing deep a lot, if you're running 2 tailback set, at least one of those needs to be in pass pro.
Hell, even in one back sets, they need to be good in pass pro. Jay Brooks, I'm assuming at this point, as a veteran, he should be trustworthy in pass pro. The rest of them, great point. Keelan Robinson, just out of size alone, I don't know if he's as trusted
Yeah, he's
in
maybe
pass pro.
going for those little chops
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but not necessarily standing his own.
And then C.J. Baxter, of course, and Jaden Blue too, both of those guys. And someone said, don't forget about Savion Red. Don't forget about Savion Red. I love the at least the thought process with Savion Red to experiment with hybridism. I think Sark, he's experimenting with positionless football, but he hasn't really embraced it. I love that he at least looks at a skill set like Savion Red and is willing to see if he could experiment with him and then acknowledge it. He still won't use the term positionless football. He won't use it. He says everything else accepted. He won't use it yet. I think he's reluctant for some reason. And Shano, who he's a big admirer of, who he goes to visit Shano all the time and all that kind of stuff. He is the foremost mind, and I would say, I don't know if he's the only one because Arthur Smith is in it too, but he's definitely the leader and the pioneer of positionless football on offense in the NFL. He's embraced it like no other. And I know Sark sees that because that's basically Deebo Samuel is what he envisioned Savion Red to be.
Yeah.
But
no, he's just not saying it, but it's because it's not his terminology.
It
he
is,
knows
but
that.
still, that's what it is. And Bijan is that guy too. Bijan's going to Arthur Smith, who is the second, I think, leading mind of positionless football and offense in the NFL, with Cordero Patterson at running back, Kyle Pitts at tight end / receiver. Now he's got Bijan. He also has been embracing that. Yes, but at least I think he'll, unlike Sark, he uses the term. And strangely enough, the Falcon thing too, right? Because all of them coach for the Falcons.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Like maybe Arthur Blank's just a big fan of it.
He might be. I don't know. I mean, those guys think about. They're supposed to be thinking about stuff like that. And they said Bijan Robinson is not going to be a running back. He's going to be a weapon. We will see if they use him like that. That'll be fun.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. For his sake, considering what they're paying running backs these days, he would love to be a weapon and not a running back.
I'm sure he is thrilled that he is not on the market for a little while. Wow. Hopefully that fixes before then.
Can I give you a random stat about running backs that I saw? I saw this on NFL Live, and I had to take a picture of it because I was like, that can't be real. And it was. So this comes from Nina Kimes. They basically, she claims that the franchise tag value of the running back position at 2015 was $11 million, and it has dropped. It's the only position that has dropped in franchise tag value since 2015 to 2020. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, how does that? To me, the players' union's got to take a stance. It's like, nah, this has got to be. And I know it's not something that the NFL's doing on purpose and intentional. I'm not saying that there's conspiracy going on or anything like that, but dude, they got to rectify that somehow. That's crazy.
For a position that is so important to the game,
What?
To be like, I don't know, the value between the best player and the 40th best player is $2 million. That's insane. And I get why these young guys have to do it. I get it. I get that if you're a young man and you're a running back and you tried to make it and you don't know how long your legs are going to last, and the difference between being a millionaire and being a thousandaire is signing a lower contract than you're worth, I get it. Hey, man, look, $2 million is better than no $1 million. I get it. But at a certain point, you have to be able to fight back and go, man, you can't keep signing these. Like, you had a good season. You can't sign for no money. I know you can't keep signing one-year deals. You got to sign longer-term deals.
Well, then that's the shelf life of the running back, which is also the issue because they don't have many years.
If you want to sign short-term, make the money. You can't make no money and short term. You got to take one or the other.
No, the domino effect has been devastating. Think about it. Because running backs are paid less. Some of the franchise tag value dropping over an 8-year span. So they're paid less and valued less. So they're not drafted as high. So they don't get the money initially, so they're not drafted as high. And then once they prove their worth, get them a second contract, those contracts have now become precipitously devalued as well, and their shelf life is shorter than any other position in the NFL.
It's I mean, now the good news is if they ever want to unite, eventually they're all just going to be on one-year deals. Because every single running back in the league is going to be on a one. And they're just like, hey, no, none of us are re-signing. Not one of us is until you decide to give us fair wage.
Wow. And there, right now, the average salary for running backs is between the punter and the kicker. The punter is below.
Good Lord.
It's right above. And it's crazy. No, I'm not.
That's crazy.
It's unbelievable what's going on in the
You got to
NFL.
play
dude.
every day. You got to protect our most valuable assets,
Crazy.
and we're not going to pay you.
I don't know what the hell's going on with that position. All right, but David Mulligetta, if you're listening, take up the cost. Just be like, hey, man, I'm a running backs. Come to me. I'll represent you. I'll get you paid.
This is all Zeke's fault.
Honestly, he's a part of the narrative.
He
you
is,
know?
yeah.
He is a big part of it too. All right, let's get to. We'll come back to the Texas football / Texas basketball conversation because there is a sports. I believe it's Sports Business Journal. They put out an unofficial, their unofficial ranking. And it's actually via Open Doors, so I wouldn't even say it's them. It's via Open Doors, which is a company that tracks NIL transactions and compensation all across the country for all different sports. And their claim is that the research that they've done, the Big 12 actually has more NIL compensation dollars that they've tracked than any other Power 5 conference. They said this is through May 2023. They have the Big 12 number one. They don't have the figures here. They do not have the figures. They have the Big 12 number one, the Big 10 number two. They got the Pac-12 number three, and the SEC number four. ACC rounds it out.
Well, we know the SEC knows how to hide their money, so.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking that the SEC, it's like the people that's still selling weed illegally in Colorado. Which some dudes are. They're still like, hey, I'm still buying. It's like, are you still buying your weed? Why? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, the price has got to be pretty
Damn
low.
the man. I'll buy it from Tony.
Right. So to me, I'm assuming it's just under the table stuff still going on in the SEC
Yeah,
it's the SEC. The SEC bag man still has a gig.
Big 12. We're just loud. So if you give money, we're like, it is on. I'm telling everybody that I'm paying this guy.
It's crazy.
But yeah, I don't know. It seems.
I'm shocked by that. I'm shocked. I'm shocked by. I really am. But like I said, I think there's a lot under the table going on in the SEC, and hey, the SEC is a wild place, man. Get ready for it.
It's hard to break old traditions,
Yes, and I think it will. But think about it, NIL is relatively still new, so all the mechanisms of the old corrupt guard are probably still in place, and they haven't totally abolished them yet. They probably on their way to abolishing all that stuff once they can get the NIL machine fully functioning.
Yeah, because technically you still can't do NIL to recruit players. I mean, not technically.
Yeah, exactly. That's still a lot of
So
that.
they're like, well, no, we've always done this way. This is how we recruit
and
players.
This guy said he wanted the money. You know what? If we can give him the money right now, we can get him over this school.
Yeah.
How can we get the money? We can't do it through NIL because that's illegal. Well, we still got the bag man. Go call the bag man. Tell the bag man that we need about $20,000 and we need it clean. All right. Tell him that's a down payment on it. No, that's exactly what's going on. I totally agree. This is our.
By the way, that happens in all conferences. I'm not saying it's just the SEC. I'm just saying
they're
the
just
SEC
better
is
at it.
really good at it.
They're better at it than everybody else. Look at that.
It's been reported in multiple suspensions that this is not a new thing.
That's Sports Business Journal. We'll come back to that conversation. I think it's interesting. I think a big part of the Big 12 being the king of NIL conversation is Texas. I mean, that's a big part of it. That Open Doors, that same company that they got their figures from, remember, they're the ones who, and I believe this was Texas Business Journal, if I'm not mistaken. Austin Business Journal. I apologize. Austin Business Journal. They are the ones, and I believe it was Blake Lawrence, the CEO of Open Doors. He said when they track hundreds of millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of transactions through technology, their platform that they have, through the first 20 months of NIL, Texas was number one in the country in their data set in NIL compensation for student athletes. So, at least in the arms race right now, Texas is doing a great job. So, Texas is a big part of the Big 12's superiority right now in NIL compensation, or at least the stuff that's on the books. I'm agreeing with Patrick. I think the SEC.
I think they've got some old habits dying hard.
still that guy in Colorado. He's selling weed illegally. It's like, bro, why are you taking this chance? Go get a job with a dispensary.
Come on,
like,
man.
What are you doing? It doesn't make any sense at all. All right, we come back. We'll get into Texans, a little NFL news, notes, and nuggets. And we may have a report on who's going to do Hard Knocks. You probably could guess who it is. We'll get into that. Will Anderson signs and Pro Football Focus ranking the best secondaries in the NFL. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie. Wonderful on the Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Austin is a beautiful city. We all love it. That's why we all call it home. And we're not the only ones who love Austin. Everybody that visits Austin, they remark on the beautiful, unique aesthetic appeal of Austin. And that's thanks in no small part to our good friends over at Ironworkers Local 482. They've been helping shape Austin since 1935. And you see the labors of the love all over this great city. You might be driving by one of them right now and not even know it. And iconic, exquisite landmarks like DKR Stadium and the Pennybacker Bridge. And as our city continues to grow and thrive, so do our good friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. They don't go to the office, they build the offices. So if you're looking for an exciting new career path, maybe you're frustrated with your work choices, maybe you just want something fresh, something new, you want a company that will value you and challenge you, how about becoming a member, a valued member of Ironworkers Local 482, and you can accept the challenge of becoming the best version of yourself while helping shape Austin's economic development. Right now, they're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas, so you can become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. So maximize your potential and be your best self today. Simply reach out at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. It actually is intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who may have had a rough weekend. Not really the case for anybody. Actually, I take that back. The weekend was a little bit rough for LSU, but that's all right.
I mean, they got the game won.
Huh?
They won
They did
game
get
one.
one, so it wasn't a total thing, but
Yeah.
I guess yesterday was a little rough for them.
Yeah.
But today,
So
hopefully,
it was a little
bounce back.
tough for Astros fans until the win at the end.
Yeah, I guess Rangers lost their series.
Rangers lost. The Astros lost the series.
Yeah.
A brutal loss on Saturday night.
Yeah.
That was not fun to watch.
The Astros have not been fun to watch.
Well, did you see how they
Oh,
lost
yeah.
on Saturday?
No.
They called a balk on Ryan Stanek that was questionable at best when it was a tie ball game and a man on third, and it walked home the winning run on a balk
Yeah, no.
in the bottom of the eighth.
The Astros are in trouble. They haven't had the injury luck hadn't been on their side like
Yeah.
it has been in recent years, and I'm with you. It just seems like they haven't been able to make their own luck like they have been in the recent years. So
No, but I will
and
say
the Rangers are for real,
if
the Angels.
the Angels are for real too. I think if the Astros get healthy, Jose Abreu is now hitting the ball a lot better.
Yeah, they get healthy. That's not my concern anymore. The concern now is that the Rangers and the Angels
They
are
are-
going to make you work for it.
Yeah, but I think especially if Brantley comes back. But Altuve was gone on Sunday as well. He
Yeah.
had a bruise in his heel, so he missed Sunday's game. Dubon made some great defensive plays. But yeah, it was not fun to watch that when you're like, hey, we got the lead. And they blew leads in Saturday and Sunday. Came back and won Sunday, but blew lead Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, no, trust me, I'm starting to get nervous as an Astros fan. I wasn't nervous at first, like, the season, it's a long season, yeah. And that's like, no, the Rangers, first of all, the Rangers are legit, the Rangers are the real deal.
Yeah.
And as a baseball fan, you gotta love to see what the Angels are doing because you can get Shohei in the playoffs and the postseason, that'd be fantastic. As an Astros fan, you be a little anxious about that because the Angels are playing good ball.
Well, we do get a good series this weekend. Astros Rangers this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
All right, we'll break that down. That's
So that'll
sexy.
be coming up this week. That'll be a fun one to watch.
That will be fun. I wonder if Hard Knocks will be fun to watch this season, gentlemen. This comes from NBC Sports. They're claiming, per a league source, the Jets are bracing for the preseason Hard Knocks assignment, despite making known publicly that they don't want to do it. By the way, none of the teams want to do it. The reports are that all the teams who have basically the NFL, there's a certain criteria where teams can be compelled to do it by the NFL, and they don't have a choice. But all these teams, the Jets, the Jets, Jets, the Saints, the Bears, and the Commanders all have expressed their disdain for the idea of being the Hard Knocks team this year. And but they're going to force some team to do it, and it's going to be one of them teams. And the Jets are the team that everybody wants to watch. Nobody wants to watch the Saints, the Bears, the Commanders.
Yeah, if I was the Bears, I'd want to do it, though. I feel like if I was the Bears, I'd be like, hey, let's go get ahead. Let's let these young guys, let's show that we're a really fun, cool team. Maybe we can get some free agents in the upcoming years to build this team around. If we show what a great culture we have and what we're doing. Like, I feel like I'd try and use that as a plus because they need plus in Chicago because nobody wants to go there. Nobody wants to. But if you're like, hey, man, we may be getting a new stadium soon. We're getting like positive. We're trending in the right direction.
You are, but I think they believe they can actually win the division this year. I got a shot because Aaron Rodgers is gone.
Yeah.
All right, because Aaron Rodgers is gone, and the Minnesota Vikings were a bit of a fugazi last year.
Yeah.
We talked about that, and they were exposed in the playoffs. So, and Detroit's trending, right? I like Detroit, but it's still Detroit. Right? We still don't know if we can totally trust Detroit. I love Detroit because I was a former Detroit Lion, but I get why people wouldn't just totally jump on the Detroit bandwagon because most people haven't seen them. I've seen them, and I know that offense is legit. And when they get their defense up to par, the Lions going to be something to be reckoned with. But most people don't give a damn about the Lions. So they believe they got a chance to make a run and not run, but win this division this year. They could potentially win it. And that's why I don't think they want any potential clown show. Yeah. Because they think Justin Fields is going to take a second-year leap this year.
I get that. I think you should have more faith. Like, I get why if you have Aaron Rodgers on your team, you were like, please do not bring any cameras around here because we don't need anyone saying something offhanded and that's somehow getting back to him because it was filmed. And now we got a whole thing where he hates this rookie because he doesn't have respect for the game and all that. Like, I could see that as you just be like, I get it. Aaron Rodgers, we just, no variables. But if I'm Chicago, you're not winning the division. You're just not. I don't
What do
think
you
it's
mean they're
happening
not?
because their defense isn't good enough. Their offense isn't good enough.
Aaron Rodgers is gone.
I get that, but
He
I
ran
think
the
they're
division.
they're still not.
And Minnesota's got quarterback by Kirk Cousins, and nobody
but
believes
I get
in that.
But they have Justin Jefferson on that team, who's
Yeah.
going to get them at least.
I like Minnesota, but I'm just
get it.
saying it's not. There's no guarantee.
And even if you win
team.
the division, I don't like. The point should not be to win the division. The point should be to win the Super Bowl, right? I don't think that.
Baby steps.
I think they're viewing themselves in a different light than the rest of the NFL is viewing them.
I agree with that. I don't disagree
And
with that
I
at
think
all.
that's where you need someone to come
Yeah.
in and go, hey, man, we need to make this good PR. Plus, if we think we're running, why don't we get all the fans on board about how fun this team is going to be this year and go get, like, if I'm the owner, I'm going, I want to be on Hard Knocks because I think we can make the Bears a really fun team. And the Bears are not traditionally a fun team.
That's true. No, you can get some. You can get
The
some
most
fans.
fun thing about the Bears was the SNL skits in the 90s. That was the most fun thing about the Bears ever.
I think if you're talking about just embracing a clown show, the Jets should do it because the Jets, you share one of the biggest media markets in the world with the Giants, who are an actual playoff team, with the Yankees, who are the freaking Yankees, all right, with the Mets, and with the Knicks, who made the playoffs recently. You share
Nets?
that, huh? The Nets too. Yeah, you share that market with a lot of teams. You actually need to be the focus of the clown show. Yes, you're trying to win a Super Bowl too, but hey, man, you need eyes. You need people to. You need to be the biggest story. You already are one of the biggest stories in sports, but you need to be the biggest story in the NFL when NFL season starts. It is the number one television product in America, and in 2023, we should be talking about the Jets more than any other team. And that the best way to do that is to start with the Hard Knocks.
I will say, if I'm the Hard Knocks people, I don't know why we have waited this long to say it's the Jets. Because if we have to pick, then it's always been the Jets. Will always be the Jets. And do you think that anybody in New Orleans right now is like, we're safe?
Yes, New Orleans and Commanders.
The only way that it's coming to New Orleans is if Roger Goodell is like, hey guys, you got to take one for the team. We're gonna make them go there. Nobody cares. Just look, and trust me, they're not going to find anything because no one's going to watch.
No, and nobody would. The Commanders, I don't think people would watch either, and it would paint the NFL in a bad light because they have because of the previous ownership. They have shoddy facilities, like, you know what I mean. And he has it. They want to upgrade that, and one of the characters in Hard Knocks is always the facilities.
Yeah, I know. Mike McDaniel just took a shot at them recently too. About something, and he was like, "Oh, I wonder if they could buy my coffee for me now." I'd have to pay for my
Back
coffee
in the
now.
day when he was working for
yeah,
him?
he was basically had to pay for my own coffee.
Oh, exactly. And it would expose some of that stuff. Yeah, you don't want that.
But I have new owners, so their new owners may be. But I don't know how great. Like, I bet they would want to wait until
have they changed everything yet?
I bet they want to get the new facilities, the new building, all of that stuff.
Have
and
you changed the dining hall? Have you been that detailed yet? Where you got in there and changed all the policies so you don't look bad on
you
television?
want to see a producer going up and pressing on the railings, seeing if they fall
Yeah,
again?
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I don't think the Commanders have.
No, I don't think they want to do it right now.
It's the Jets. It's the Jets. It's got to be the Jets. NFL, don't do this to us. All right, don't do this. You know we want to watch the Jets, and that's it. There's a reason you are the number one television product in America. It's because you know what the people want, and you give the people what they want, and what they want is Aaron Rodgers, and they want to see the potential meltdown with Aaron Rodgers too. But also they want to see Aaron Rodgers. Drama. He's a drama king.
We want to see Aaron Rodgers continually find the cameras, walk into frame, and then be mad that he's in the camera shot, even though he walked direct. Like, when he sees it, walks in and goes, God, these guys are following me around. Like, you just came in the room, man. What are you?
Exactly. Yeah, he'd be passive aggressive all the time.
Why are you in the DB room, Aaron Rodgers? Now you follow me around.
Yeah. What young players does Aaron Rodgers embrace? Because we know notoriously he brought his own crew of friends there because he wanted to feel comfortable and they wanted him comfortable. Does he embrace? Because I hear him and like Sauce Gardner and of course him and Garrett Wilson have to be hanging out a lot. It's gonna be his number one wideout. So I don't know. It so many storylines could develop from it. NFL, don't let us down. Speaking of the NFL, the Texans, they actually over the weekend they signed Will Anderson, so it is a done deal. They did sign their first round pick, Will Anderson, their other first round pick.
Well, he's a first top 5 pick to sign, right?
You might be right about
I
that.
think
'cause
he's the
that happened a
first
lot.
top 5 pick to sign.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a good sign because you get him under, and it's.
And my thing was, I thought it was all slotted anyway. Like,
I think
don't
it's
really understand
guarantees.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
so
there's
weird.
like
Yeah.
guarantees, which
Yes,
they gave him fully guaranteed. So at this point,
It's what I'm saying. Like this one, like
that seems like a pretty easy one to sign. If you're like it's slotted and it's fully guaranteed. I don't know how much more verbiage there is in there, but maybe there's stuff about there's
incentives,
caveats and
stuff like that.
and
If you
there's
make a
stuff
Pro
of,
Bowl, and,
yeah,
all that kind
and
of
maybe
stuff.
there's stuff of like you have stuff in there of outs of conduct, and they go, oh, no, that conduct.
Yes.
And my guy's allowed to do this.
Yeah,
Oh, my
good
guy
point.
really, really loves skiing, so we need to have 2 skiing trips put in there. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh no,
there
you
may be
can't ski, man.
I know, but I'm saying
No,
something
but
like
you're
that
right,
where they
though.
go.
No, that is semantics that they get into.
that
though.
could
Yeah,
be
yeah.
that is what.
No, you're right. No, you're right about that kind of stuff because those contracts they have all types of stipulations and morality clauses and stuff like that. Aaron Wilson from KPRC in H-Town, he says, as Patrick mentioned, deal fully guaranteed, $35.2 million with a 5th-year option. That's standard for first rounders. He also includes $22.6 million when he signs, so a lot of straight cash, homie, for him. And yes, I can't wait to see, what he does. What expectation level, or at least what projection does Will Anderson have to meet to make the pick, at least in the first year, to make the pick feel like it was worth the Texans moving all the way up and spending all that draft capital, to make Texans fans feel good about it in the first year?
He's got to be in top 3 defensive rookie of the year. Like,
I think he's got to be in the voting, right?
Yeah,
Like,
top 3.
Yes.
Like if you're
Okay.
in top 3, because he doesn't have to win it. Because if someone else has a breakout year, you can't go, well, that's a failure.
Yes.
He has a 10-sack season, and someone else has 14 interceptions. You can go, oh well.
I'm with you. No, I'm with you.
You can't
Yeah.
get mad at him. Like if Sauce Gardner wins it last year, you go, well, yeah, well he's Sauce Gardner. Anyone else below him, if you're still in the voting, you're good. So I think top 3 defensive rookie of the year. I don't know what the number is on sacks, but you like to see him. It's also going to be the better he is, the more you're going to see teams help over on him because
No doubt.
they just don't have the other forces to really push. You can double team him a lot.
Wait, the Texans don't have anybody else. If they had another really good pass rusher, you'd be like, oh, we got to double team that guy too.
Yeah.
So I wonder if he'll get double team early on, or if they'll force. I think they'll just let him prove himself. So if he gets high sack numbers, it'll be the first 6 games.
Yeah.
Before teams decide, all right, now we got to take him away. We got to take him out of the game. So I'm with you. Hey, to make it worth to make the pick worth it. And I'm not sure. Listen, we still got 3-4 years before his contract is up. So ultimately, that's what will determine, be the true test to whether it was worth it for the Texans. But in the first year, you'd like to see some return on investment, especially with a defensive-minded coach like DeMeco Ryans.
Well, and especially if you have a bottom 10 record, which is pretty likely, knowing that pick is going to go to Arizona next year, that's a hard offseason to take when you go in the draft not having your first-round pick if he doesn't have a good year.
You're right about that.
It's that much harder to sell to your fan base that it was a good pick when now, potential-wise, the number 7 pick that they have, oh, that guy could be a Hall of Famer, and Will Anderson don't look like a Hall of Famer. Like, so you just the selling it to teams and selling it to fans, it makes it a lot harder when that pick comes out, depending on where you're.
Totally
Slay
agree.
that.
According to the ESPN analytics at the time, the approximate value based draft pick valuation that they have, their little tools that they have, Houston and Caserio committed the second biggest overpayment of draft capital for a non-quarterback in the past 20 drafts. Julio Jones was the only trade that was a bigger overpayment. A lot of people said in retrospect that was worth it because Julio Jones is a Hall of Famer. If Will Anderson's a Hall of Famer, it was totally worth it.
Yeah.
Or if he's an all-pro.
And if
Pro
C.J.
Bowl.
Stroud and Will Anderson are Hall of Famers, then it's the greatest trade of all time. It's not really.
It's in the conversation for being one of the great
But you're like,
trades.
oh no, to bring 2 Hall of Famers in the same class, 2 and 3.
Yeah.
It is. The odds of that happening pretty small, but you sit there and you look at those. Is it an overpayment versus not? And that first season where he says that rookie season, you just want to see both those guys at least chart as good, solid. They deserve to be picked in the top 5.
Yes.
That's really what you want to see.
Yeah.
Were these guys both top 5 picks, or did you swing and miss and draft a 15th round pick, like a pick who should have been 15? Still a good player.
Yeah.
But you gave up 2 firsts for him.
Yeah, and if you whiff on both of them, it'll be one of the biggest blunders in the history of the NFL
And
draft.
it will
if you
just
whip on both.
and Nick Caserio will have to walk away with his tail between his legs.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a great point. I wonder how long they would give him. That's the thing too. This has got to work out quickly for him, just so he has more job security.
Yeah.
Because I think if they look bad and poor in the first season, people can start looking at Nick Caserio like, okay, you fired 2 one-and-done coaches, and you made this huge trade, and it doesn't look like it's working out. We might need to go a different direction.
Yeah. You're good at scouting because again, it's like how the Patriots are really good at scouting late in the draft. Can you scout early in the draft? They're 2 different skill sets.
Yep, totally agree.
And if they find that he's not doing that, and they're like, well, we're gonna be early in the draft a lot, so
But figure it out. Yeah. All right, we'll come back. We got the flex on the other side right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Glad to have my man Patrick back in the building, DJing a Smooth Soul Monday. Harge is out on vacation all this week, so you can hit him up. You can cyberstalk him at Harge Knock Life. At Hardball Harge in the Twitterverse, and for Harge Knock Life, actually, we'll be getting into some other Texas football discussion in Harge Knock Life now that Harge is out. You can hit me up via Twitter at Rod Babers, and my man Patrick is at It's Patrick Davis in the Twitterverse. 512-337-3776, number to the Specs text line. Go to Flex, FLXATX.com, FLXATX on all your social media platforms. The Flex gives a shout out here to the Round Rock Dragons, who were crowned the D1 7-on-7 state champs. Mason Cochran, who was actually on the Flex a couple of weeks ago, he was talking about how good they were. We were just talking about the team and how excited he was about this year's team. So maybe a good omen for them. They went 8-0 at the 7-on-7 state championship at Veterans Memorial Park. Mason Cochran led the charge. He was on offense, starting quarterback, and Leonard Moore, who I think is the best cornerback in Central Texas right now. I'm sure it's a good conversation, but just in my opinion, he is. He's actually one of the anchors on defense for them. But they were a really good team skill-wise, obviously showing that once again with a 7-on-7 state championship. So congrats to the Round Rock Dragons. Go to FLXATX.com to find out more details about it. You also can get that replay, the rewind, and you can go hear the Mason Cochran Flex show that was a couple of weeks ago. Also, I believe this week is the last Flex we're going to have.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I believe this week, the last Flex. You know, make sure you tune in for that. All right, we come back. We'll get into some NBA news, notes, and nuggets. Patrick is back. He's our resident NBA aficionado, so we'll ask him about all of the NBA stories that went down while he was out. Also ask him about Wemby Mania happening. He's a Spurs fan. And we'll get into the trades that happened, or reportedly the trade that is happening today in the NBA. And Dame Lillard. Could we have Dame Lillard news breaking? We'll discuss that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back. It's a Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a smooth soul Monday. Oh, easy like Sunday morning. Well done. That's a great one right there. I like that. Easy like Sunday morning. Hopefully, the rest of the show will be easy like Sunday morning. My man Harge is out on vacation, but we're in good hands because Patrick is back from vacation. As a matter of fact, we'll get Patrick's thoughts about all of the happenings in the NBA. We got an NBA segment here. Dame Lillard is at really a big topic of conversation right now in the NBA offseason. There's talk about him meeting with the Blazers. We'll get into trade happening with the Hawks and also Wemby Mania. That's right. Victor Wembanyama, the new San Antonio Spur, and of course our resident San Antonio Spur, Patrick. We'll get his thoughts now that it's official, and we'll discuss Wembanyama as well. You can be a part of it. Specs Text Line is the best way to do it, 512-337-3776. You also can hit us up via Twitter. My man Patrick is at It's Patrick Davis in the Twitterverse. I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. You want to cyber stalk my man Harge, you can do that. Hit him up at Hardball Harge, but he's on a much-deserved vacation for the first time, actually taking off all of his jobs. And the man he has a lot of jobs. A lot of jobs and a lot of kids. Well, you got to have a lot of jobs when you got a lot of kids.
Yeah, but he's still doing the job of father because he's out there.
Yes.
Repping the family and doing
that is true.
Doing kid things out there.
Yeah, because they threw a soccer tournament, I believe. And I believe they won the first game in the tournament, if I'm not mistaken. Hart is keeping us up to date. But we hope he's having a good time out there. So him and the family. They visited Mac Brown in North Carolina. I believe Mac gave him, not Mac did, but he appointed someone, delegated someone to give him a tour of the facilities and stuff. So Hart's having a good time. All right, we're having a good time on the show too. Let's get into some NBA discussion. Next segment, we'll probably just carry over our NBA discussion. If not, if we finish up all of our NBA topics, next segment during Harsh Knock Live, we'll discuss these Heisman odds because there are some Heisman odds out there that really project Quinn Ewers to have a hell of a season, and that'd be a great thing for Longhorn fans out there. So we'll get into that coming up in the next segment. If we don't get to all the NBA topics, then we can throw that into the next segment too in Harsh Knock Live. All right. Let's start with Wemby Mania and get your thoughts, Patrick, on not only what happened in the NBA draft with the Spurs, but your thoughts overall, because all the Texas teams were picking a lottery, first time ever that all the Texas teams missed the playoffs. So give me your thoughts on what the Rockets did, the Mavs, Spurs as well, and overall general thoughts on the draft while you're out.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it's been fun to watch Wembanyama not stumble yet.
Oh, he's great.
And you see him getting more and more interviews. People are like, oh wait, we're gonna get the first interview where he stumbles, or you watch it and it's like, well, if he doesn't, then he does amazing. Like he has amazing, great interviews.
He does.
Like, did you hear the interview with him and JJ Redick?
Yes, we played some cuts from it on the show.
Yeah,
it's great. No, it was great. So we played probably 5 cuts from it.
That's what I'm saying. Like interviews like that, and you're just like, this is crazy. So it's a lot of fun watching him as a Spurs fan, seeing somebody that you're like, this is a different kind of cat, just completely. And then you don't expect to ever have the number 1 pick and have a guy crying because he's so happy he's going to the Spurs.
To the San Antonio Spurs.
It's not something you expect.
Bro.
So that was just a really awesome moment in the draft when he's like, I'm a damn Spur. And you just see him like tearing up on it. And you're like, wow. That's added on to this whole fun of getting the number 1 overall pick.
Oh, to me, it might be the most satisfying part.
Yeah, because he's happy.
Well, not only that, sorry to interrupt you because I want you to have the floor here. But I brought this up last week. You guys are coming off one of the worst breakups in NBA history with a superstar. It was ugly and humiliating and devastating. I mean, basically, Kawhi ghosted you guys.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's basically what it's like. Your worst nightmare came true. He ghosted you, and he just didn't want any part of his rest. And on top of that, when you guys tried to trade him to NBA Siberia, he won a title.
Won a title.
He reached his zenith right after he ghosted y'all. That, the Spurs got a lot of luck. That was heartbreaking and heart-wrenching for Spurs fans. To have that also be a part of the narrative, and now you got the best prospect since LeBron James, who's like crying because, I always want to be a Spur. I manifested it the day of the draft. I spoke it into existence. And, my family, they all wanted me to be Spurs, and all the fans wanted, to me, that's what's so satisfying. It's like, no, man, I ain't got to worry about that. I ain't got to worry about somebody trying to leave me for greener pasture. No, this guy wants to be here more than anything else.
Yeah, and we just see that he is somebody who's been embracing all the attention too, because you come from having Tim Duncan before, which is great to have somebody kind of step back, but to have somebody that wants to be the face of the NBA while in San Antonio is a very cool thing as a Spurs fan. So all that worked out great. They go ahead and trade off one of their second round picks and move forward, which I think tells you a little bit more of that this is probably not going to be a huge free agency for them. They may try and add a couple pieces. You get Sissoko, who, he could be a good pick. He played okay, but a guy with a lot of potential. I wouldn't be surprised to see him down in the G League. Getting Serge Ibaka Rice is awesome as a Spurs fan.
That was nice.
That made me really happy when I woke up the next day and saw that he was signed to the Spurs. So there was a lot of good going on. I don't think this is going to be a team that this year, I think you're looking at really, you want to see improvement. I think you're going to be around a playing team.
Oh, that'd be great.
I think that's where you're sitting. So you may not make it there. You may pull off the Dogs near the end of the season to go back down a little bit in that draft to get a little bit better pick. So you just go, hey, we're not there. Let's not go full board to try and get to 10.
Yeah.
Maybe we can sit down at 12. If it's close, because this season it was the difference between 10 and 12 wasn't that much.
Yeah, but it was, you're right, made a difference.
So it may or may not be that. But we'll see going into next season. I don't see them doing any big moves in this offseason, seeing that they didn't try and move up and get another rookie in that draft. I would have figured if you were going to go full board, you would have taken some of your assets in the future and moved forward.
Yeah, they want to give it a go with these young guys, it seems like. At least for now.
Well, and you want to see
how
I don't think we don't know what Wembanyama is going to be in the NBA and what works around him in the NBA. So you don't know what type of players are going to work and not work with him. Everybody says, well, he's probably going to be a 4, but what kind of 5 can play with him? Do you need a 5 that has to be a stretch 5? Because if, is he going to be able – are you going to have big men that are basically sitting off of Zach Collins if that's your 5, and when Wembanyama drives, they're coming out really high on him and trying to get charges, and can he get around them, and what are the calls is he going to get? All those types of things, if – you want to see your shooters on the outside. Does he like to play with guys that create more of their own shot, or does he need to have the ball in his hands, or does he want to be moving around more?
Okay.
Like what the players that you need to put around him, and how well the players you already have, a Keldon Johnson, a Jeremy Sohan, a Trey Jones, a Devin Vassell, how well they play with him as well. That chemistry that you feel out. I think they want to kind of take all that in first before you just go out and arbitrarily go sign a Fred VanVleet and pay a bunch of money, or try and make a trade for somebody and go, well, hopefully this all works out. But if not, we're really pot committed on something that we don't know, because it is. He is the alien. There is no real blueprint of this is what's going to work to have him be best.
And he's at the perfect place for them to come up with the perfect, cocktail.
Yeah, and they have a lot of
around
good
him.
young talent where you can kind of, even if that guy's even if Trey Jones isn't the guy, he's good enough to say, okay, do we need a Trey Jones-like player, and try and find someone who's a little bit higher level, or, you know what I mean? Like, you can find some other guys around that.
Let me ask you this, because, we were talking about this on the show last week, because he just announced what he didn't. It was reported that Wembanyama has now agreed that he's not going to play in the FIBA World Cup.
Yeah.
Or whatever, that's the basketball championship, their version of the basketball basic version of the World Cup. He's not going to play in that. He's going to choose to play in the Olympics, which is happening next year. And, of course, he's going to play in the NBA. He's also going to play in the Summer League.
Yes.
He also announced that
he will be a participant in the Summer League.
Yeah, we don't know if he's going to play
that
no way.
So he seems to think that he wants to play a little bit more.
He says that, but obviously not the FIBA thing.
No, and probably not Sacramento either, because Spurs will be at Sacramento before they go to Vegas. I doubt he'd see anything in Sacramento in that California league.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Because they're doing the California League right before they go to Vegas. I would assume most of it would be in Vegas, where they'd want him to be there. But as I said before I left, you wanted to see him to be a part of it, a participant in it, just to see how he is around the NBA culture, see how he is with the teammates he's going to be playing with. Those guys, I think that is very important to get him into that mindset and let him get that little bit of competitiveness out in practice to be like, oh, no, I need to go and show that I'm the best player. Again, there's a reason I was drafted 1, and I'm playing with a bunch of undrafted free agents. I need to go dominate in practice.
He likes to play because he could have, after he was projected to be the number 1 overall pick, he didn't have to keep playing in the French league, in the French playoffs. He played. I think they got swept in the finals. but he played, and he says he's going to play in the Olympics, of course, and I think the concern is, I want to ask you, how many games would you play him in the regular season? Because he played 62 games total in that French league. He's going to play a total NBA season, maybe a play-in, whatever. I throw that in there. And then you got the Olympics. So in a 24-month span, you're talking about between 170, 180 games, depending on how it plays out. With a guy like that, considering the size, you want to be careful. And I think that's probably why the Spurs probably told him, no, FIBA's definitely out.
No, and he said the Spurs had no impact. His own medical staff. He said he has his own medical staff.
He's probably got a team at this point.
Yeah, you're an entity. You're your own property at this point.
Yeah.
So he said he talked to his own medical staff, and they're like, dude, if you want to play in the Olympics, don't play now, because you are now going to stretch your entire pre-NBA career into an NBA career into that, and it's just it's too likely that you're not going to make the Olympics.
Yeah.
So if you want to make the Olympics, you need to take a break now.
Yeah.
And I think that was more of the line of, if you want to make the Olympics, you have to step out of FIBA. But he said that was a decision that the Spurs basically are happy to have him, so they go whatever. Because I think the Spurs too wouldn't mind if he sat out some games this year.
Of course, I wouldn't play him more than 65.
I think the question is going to be, I think you're going to play him in a lot. It's going to depend on the schedule. So you're not going to want to play him in a lot of back-to-backs.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to play him on games where he may not, where you're getting off a plane too soon.
Long road trips.
Yeah. So stuff like that, I think you may see a couple more breaks. And some of this stuff you may see him play shorter minutes. So he'll play in more games but less minutes. Yeah. So it's not so much of, well, he only played in 65 games. He played in 75 games or 72 games or whatever it is. However, there was a couple games where he played 14 minutes, something like that. 18, 14 minutes, played under 20 minutes, where it was just something where they kind of got him in and got him going, got a sweat, and then said, hey, let's pull out, this is a game we're either not going to win or we can win without you, and let's not overdo it.
Yeah.
So I think that is one, but we'll see that more when the schedule's out too, of how many back-to-backs, how many times, how many games are you coming back where, you're basically playing a game and you get a day off, but you're playing an early weekend game on the road. So, traveling wise, if they don't feel they want to put you on that road game as much, they may say, well, he's staying back in San Antonio or something like that.
It's just amazing to think that, now the San Antonio, and this is San Antonio Spurs fans, I'm happy for you guys, but it is annoying that you're a rebuild. How long was the rebuild?
We're still in the rebuild, by the way. We're still in it.
No, technically not. You're on the.
If you want to be technical about the rebuild, but it's not like they're not a until you're a playoff team. I think you're still in the rebuild.
Yeah, but now you're okay. Put it like this: you may be in the rebuild, but there's no dark days in the rebuild.
No. There's a direction.
Fans. You guys, yeah. So
you're
to
not
me,
lost in the rebuild.
I don't think anybody's in rebuild mindset among your fans. You may be thinking about it, but no fans are in rebuild mindset. The other man said, all right. When he's talking about championships.
He is.
He's talking about titles.
You're still in rebuild mode when you have as many draft picks as the Spurs do.
No, I just think that's just great. This is a great front office part of it, too. I guess it's semantics, but I don't know. It feels like they're on the backside of it. It'll be done. The rebuild will be over in what, a year then? It'll be officially over?
I mean, depending on what they do. Yeah, especially if they make the play-in next year.
They got $30 million in cap space. I think they can compete for the play-in.
Well, that's the thing. I just don't think they're going to go out and try and – I think they're going to try and basically keep the cap space open for the following – there's not a ton of great free agents this offseason either. And then go into next season with a better idea of what the future –
because they don't need anything. What's the need? You don't know what you need, so there's no need. So
exactly. And it's like if you do really want to bring in veteran players that are going to take time away from your younger players – to, when you're not trying to compete for a title.
No. Yeah, you're right. Right now you want to see those guys get reps.
Yes. So that's where I think it'll be. I think they want to that's why you keep a Devontae Graham for another year and you keep Doug McDermott. You keep all those guys that have salary caps and you go, if we need to move off of them, we can. But we don't need to move off those contracts right now.
Great point. How about this little nugget, though? The NBA draft was the most watched NBA draft on any network, according to Nielsen. First round averaged 4.9 million viewers across ESPN and ABC, up 24% from last year's first round on both platforms. So it peaked at around a little over 6 million in that 8 p.m. quarter hour. That according to KNES 5. Spurs. Jeff G.
Yes.
So, by the way, it wasn't any drama in the draft, though.
There wasn't a lot. No, there
So,
wasn't anything.
People were tuning in to see the most talked about prospect since LeBron James. People were tuning in, and it's crazy. Like it was no drama. There was I think there was a little bit about who would be number 2.
There was a little bit. There's always the Dame Lillard people may have been watching to see.
Could have been some of that
because you want to see if Scoot Henderson is going 3. Do they trade off?
Yes.
Do
So
they trade that pick off or trade off Dame Lillard in that moment? I think that was there. But also once you got past 3, now it's like
it was done.
Yeah.
Right.
The only real drama after that point was how far is Cam Whitmer going to slip?
Oh, thank you.
That was it
for the Rockets, man. Thank you for throwing that out there. I appreciate you. Because that was beautiful. Oh, and how about this? It turns out now we're, obviously days after the NBA draft, so you're getting all these nice little nuggets. This came from Jake Fisher. He says the Rockets basically were trying to move all the way up to number 10 back up to get Whitmore. And then he started dropping, and I guess they called enough people that maybe weren't interested, and they figured, let's roll the dice on him dropping. Nobody thought he would drop all the way back down to 20.
No.
So they were thinking about trading up to go get him, but the slide was it was precipitous.
It's one of those things where that is the one that's most interesting about this Rockets team, of how they've been drafted, how they looked last year, and how this build is going to go forward. Do they really not care at all about the personality of their players, or is it that they think that they're like, oh no, we can figure all that out and do it? Because we've seen there's been talks about basically everyone on that team not fitting together, and that the practices may have not been hard enough, and that these guys are not being unselfish enough when they're playing. And then you add another guy who there's a reason he slipped, and the nice reports from Woj were that it was that he had really bad workouts and really bad interviews.
Bad interviews, yeah.
But usually you would be like, and there's probably some stuff that they found out in his past that they're like, you know what? This may not be illegal or anything like that, but we're just going to go ahead and stay away from it.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, DeJounte Murray was that guy for the Spurs that people thought DeJounte Murray, because he did have ties to gangs when he was younger, that a lot of people passed on him and thought, you know what? It's not worth taking him. We're not sure that we want to go with him. And we saw that he went to Spurs and is fine. And even if we're saying he asked for a trade to get out, that's still, I don't want to hold that against him. He's shown that he's been a really good, he was a great citizen in San Antonio. He was a great player for the Spurs. So I don't want to, so there is those guys that sometimes get that reputation because of stuff they did when they were younger, and then they're trying to get away from it, and it just follows them to the draft.
And then sometimes those reports are, they obviously there's maybe some smoke to some of that, but if they go to the right team with the right culture, like the Spurs, then that maturity can happen, and they understand how to be a professional. And then yes, their past and immaturity is just that, is immaturity in their past.
Exactly.
I don't know if the Rockets have that kind of culture.
And that's what Ime's trying to bring in. It's why this year's big is what culture he can set there. Because if he sets a really good culture of, what we saw in Boston last year, where that improved that team a lot. And we saw Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum work together better than they did it all this year. And, you saw the best Marcus Smart. You saw all these great pieces at their best with him. If you're able to do that in Houston, then there's a lot of good pieces. But it is the island of misfit toys right now. There's a lot of good pieces that just have not seemed to fit together in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see them, I think it's one of those, if you're doing what Houston has done, why not go all in? If that guy's sitting there at 20 and you're able to go get him, I like it.
No, it was great value. He's maybe with all those concerns, bad eval, bad interview, bad workouts, whatever they may be. Not in the lottery. Maybe the lottery is not where you should pick him because that's different value.
Yeah.
When he drops already down to 20, different money. Obviously, they're at 22, but he's out of the lottery. There, it's tremendous value for the Rockets. And if the medical evals are basically saying, we talked about this last week, that he can't give you longevity, that whatever is happening with his medical evaluation, he's going to break down in, say, 5-6 years. If you're the Rockets, You're like, well, we're not going to invest that long in him. We just need him for right now, and then second contract, we'll move on. And
exactly. And I'm in like that. If you're going to go that, DeJuan Blair for the Spurs, and they drafted him. He was a great player out of Pitt.
That.
I
the cartilage thing.
No cartilage in his knees, and so he fell down for them, and they were like, yeah, but we're in a championship window.
Yeah.
Like we need him for this, and if you're going to give us a really good player that fell in the draft because you're worried about his we don't need him in 10 years.
Exactly. I think that may be the process for the Rockets. Like, well, we may not invest that much in him. We just
at 20. How many? Like, how do you expect us to keep a guy at 20? Anyway, like the guys that are here are their floors are so much farther than his floor. I like it putting them all together, and it also is that you're going to know more in Houston as well after the season. Do we need to move some of these pieces out and try and get in some more veterans? And if we want to talk about cap space, that is a team that has boatloads of cap space right now.
Rockets,
in Houston, yes,
60, upwards of $60 million. I think right now the number's at 60, but it could be more than that depending on the moves they made.
So
and they got so much. That young core is nice. I mean, now with Amen Thompson added to the group. I mean, that with Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. and Kevin Porter Jr. They got some young, really talented guys. Like you said, they got all the pieces right now. It's about the culture and bringing it all together. They should be done with the rebuild.
You have to be. You can't continue to do that to your fan base of taking 3 and getting all these guys. And I know you never got the big piece, but you have good players, and at least go for it. And then if you're back in a rebuild in 4 years, they're gonna go, yeah, you messed it up, but you have to at least eventually push the gas because you're gonna start having to pay players before you know if they're any good.
Oh man, and you brought this up, I don't know, probably a month ago. And I went and did some research on it and found the actual, like, all the penalties for the new CBA when it kicks in. And you can tell all the teams now reacting to it, all the future penalties about going over the salary cap at that second apron. They're either going all in right now before the penalties get really harsh in 2 years, or they're deciding, all right, we need to already start adjusting to the new salary cap beforehand because we don't want to be blindsided by these new salary cap restrictions when they hit in 2 years. And it seems like maybe that new Phoenix owner, he's going all in.
Yeah, he has his own theories. His own theories about how basketball works.
Yes. But anyway, get your thoughts about the Dallas Mavs real quick though, because I thought they actually had a damn good draft too.
I did too, and I think I texted you when that first trade gets reported that they trade the number 10. It is reported as they trade the number 10 pick as a salary dump. That was the report of the initial. I was like, you trade number 10 to salary dump? And then you find out they just moved back 2 picks. He went, oh, that's a great trade.
It's great value.
Because you were going to take Lively at 10.
Yep.
And you knew he was going to be there at 12. So you go, we know we're going to get the second best center, which is what we wanted in this draft. So we were going to wait, and we're going to take him at 12. We get a dump off another piece of salary, which gives us a little bit more flexibility to try and bring in something. I know the Mavs do not have a great track record of bringing in anybody. But, you're going to have to – maybe you just go after Bruce Brown or somebody like that and try and bring in some more defense. So to get a little bit more help out there I think is a big thing. And then trading back in, you just have to make moves. You have to try something. I like that they went and we're going for it. You're really bad at signing free agents. You've done okay finding some guys in the draft recently.
Yeah, they have.
So I would go with that method more for you. They still have a lot to figure out this offseason, but I think having this draft gives them a little bit more flexibility of not trying to find that next center. You can go, okay, we have a guy at center.
Got 2 of them.
You maybe sign you don't have to necessarily sign. You don't have to go all in for Brook Lopez or somebody like that. That's going to be a more sought after center. You can kind of go for somebody.
Yeah.
A little bit more affordable at your backup center position.
Because they got Rashawn Holmes in that trade too, right?
Yeah, which,
it's serviceable.
Yeah, he's somebody that depending on, but Rashawn Holmes is one of those guys that could work out like Christian Wood. He's okay. He doesn't fit with our team at all, and it's not working out. But he's an okay player. But if it gets you through the season, and it depends how fast Derek Lively is going to be able to acclimate to playing a rim protector on a defense where there is going to be a lot of guys blowing at you. Like, that's the thing, because he is coming into a defense where
you just don't have a lot of good
he's
perimeter
not used
defenders.
to having nobody care about it around him.
Yeah, I think the guy they drafted, Olivier Maxence Prosper, they kind of want him to be their Dorian Finney-Smith starter kit but obviously that's development down the line.
Yeah, that takes time.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get you're not getting any calls in that first season too. So you need some veterans because those guys are both going to get in a lot of foul trouble trying to play that defense. But again, I think the Mavs are going to be a suitor for Bruce Brown as somebody where that fits into kind of where it's affordable, and he is a good perimeter defender and can give you some points when you need them as well.
Yeah. Okay, real quick, because I know we're up against it. There was an NBA trade today. At least it's reporting by Woj that the Hawks are trading. The Hawks are making a trade here for John Collins.
They're trading away John Collins and his contract. They overpaid him a few years ago. They have been trying to trade him for the last 2 off seasons, I believe. Like really desperately trying to trade him. They finally realized that they were not going to get anything back for him, and basically just gave him away.
Trade him to the Utah Jazz for Rudy Gay.
Yes, and it's just Rudy Gay's contract pretty much.
In a future second rounder. Yeah. Okay.
But so you're basically giving him away at this point. I think he's going to be a good player for Utah. I just don't think he fit in well in that Trae Young offense. And look, he's a little overpaid. I will give you that he's overpaid because they need him to be a better shooter, and he just never got that shooting down to where he needed to be. He's undersized to be a real great help protector. I think in this Utah team, it's going to fit out a little bit better for him. He's going to be able to do some more things and get a second life. So for Utah, it's another Danny Ainge just stealing a player. He's really good at it. Just stealing players. Basically, like, you know what? We'll take him. We'll go ahead and take this guy off your hands. We have the cap space right now, so we can go get this guy. And looking at the free agency market, you're going to have to overpay for the good guys because there just isn't that many of them right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he knew. It's like, look, we're going to have to overpay if we're going to get anybody to come to Utah anyway. Let's just go get somebody in the trade that's already overpaid for. We'll work through him, and hopefully by the time we get to where we want to be, his contract will be up, and we can either re-sign him for less or he'll be gone, and we gave up nothing for him anyway.
Yeah, speaking of that salary dump, that actually was one of the great parts about the Mavs draft day trade that we didn't talk about.
Bertans.
That was probably the best part of the whole damn deal.
You had to figure out something to get a little bit of more flexibility this offseason.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. All right, we come back. We'll get into these Heisman odds. There's some Heisman odds out, and apparently very favorable odds for one Quinn Ewers. We'll discuss that on the other side, and also some other Longhorn-related topics. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Had a great weekend. Hope you had a good weekend, too. Mine was especially great because I got a chance to get some things done around the house. Actually got some yard work done, but it was hot outside. I'm not going to lie to y'all, man. It's still hot outside. And the best way to cool off and avoid that Texas heat is to do it with a nice ice-cold Bud Light. It's the best way to beat the Texas heat, and also the best way to enjoy any occasion. That's because it's the perfect beer for any occasion. Turns those good times into great times and the rest of the times into the best of times. So make sure your fridge is stocked with Bud Light. It has been my go-to beer for a long time, especially for those Longhorn tailgates on Saturdays and those NFL Sundays. But whether you want to toast and cheers to a brighter tomorrow or you want to drown your sorrows, it's never a bad time to break out the Bud Light. It isn't just for anybody, it's for everybody. So remember, Bud Light, if you want to keep the good times going, just make sure you got the Bud Light flowing, and there'll be lots of Bud Light flowing. For me, it was Bud Light flowing this weekend. Should be Bud Light flowing tonight for you as well. Make sure happy hour, you got the Bud Light flowing, whether you're out to dinner with friends and family. Keep that Bud Light there. Always the perfect beer for any occasion. Bud Light, brewed deep in the heart of Texas, and proud of it. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Oh, man, Smooth So Monday. Oh, well done there, Patrick. Patrick coming back with the bangers off of his vacation. We appreciate him on a Smooth So Monday, intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans. My man Harge is out on vacation. He's going to hate he missed this one, though. I don't know if he even played this one before with Harge on the show.
You just play a little bit. You know, so we're
Yeah.
it's hard. It's Hard's Not Life, so you got to play some Earth, Wind, Fire.
Yeah, this would definitely be deserving of a little karaoke for Harge. He'd be singing right now.
Yeah,
We'd be
would.
exposing him. No question.
Well, we'll do it again in a couple months. And
Yeah,
we'll get
and
him.
I can guarantee he's going to be singing before. And he's going to try to hit that note. I know that's what we're going to turn the mics on him, too.
We'll do that.
All right. Thanks to my man Patrick. Always doing a great job DJing a Smooth Soul Monday and all of our musically themed days of the week. Okay, so a little spillover from the NBA conversation because I want to talk to Patrick about this. So there are a couple of reports out there, and one of them you sent to me, the Dame Lillard report. So Chris Haynes is reporting that the Trailblazers, Dame Lillard, and his agent, Aaron Goodwin, are meeting with the team today to discuss the franchise's direction. Which I guess if he don't like the direction, he could request trade.
This is basically him saying, like, look,
he's putting them on notice.
I told you I don't want rookies. I want guys that are going to be here. I want to win.
He's
like,
mad
I know my window's closing. But he told him this before the draft.
He wanted them to trade that pick.
And then he didn't say a lot once they got the number 3 pick between the lottery and because they weren't projecting at number 3. So if you get the number 5 pick, it's a lot easier to trade because that's not somebody you feel is maybe a generational player. And Scoot Henderson, you're like, Scoot Henderson, he could be special. And
I like Scoot.
And like Stuart Thompson could be really, really good, but I don't think people are putting him in that same level. Stewart's who went number 5.
Yeah.
So I think that,
back-to-back twin brothers.
Back-to-back twin brothers.
Amen. Went to the Rockets,
but I think when you see where he ends up going with Scoot Henderson going there, they take their picks. They don't really make any trades right now. They're not necessarily don't have the cap flexibility to make a lot of moves in free agency. I think this is where you have to sit down and go, hey, no, we think this is how we see you guys playing together. Also, Scoot Henderson took number 00.
That was weird.
Well, because he wanted to be 0.
I know, but Dame is 0. I know, but did it take it to 00?
Yeah, to have now your 2 best players both be 0, it's stupid. I would have been like, Scoot, I love you. You're 1. Be number 2. Like, be something else, man.
Be something else. Come on, dog. You gonna make it famous for what it is.
Yeah.
You're gonna sell a lot of jerseys.
But so they're gonna have that conversation now of, and I'll give Dame respect that he could be doing this in public, and he's gonna go whether he's gonna say, no, man, let's see what it is. Let's go try and work it out. And if me and Scoot work together and we're putting up massive numbers and we play really well, and Scoot Henderson is going to take him a little bit longer to be prolific offensively, I think he'll be a good an impact defensively right away just on his effort and intensity. I think he'll be able to actually make an impact as a defender right away. So we'll see if Dame wants to go in it. Or if
Dame's been loyal, man, so I think he'd be open. He's open to
the
it.
Question
now, he may be leaning one way.
Or does he say, all right, it's time. And now I don't think he'll do I don't think he'll do the Bradley Beal where he basically forced his way out and said, "No, I want to go to Phoenix. That's the one team I want to go to. It's the one team I'll waive my no trade. So whatever you get for him, you get that and that's it. But you're trading me. I'm never playing for your team ever again." And I don't know if he said it in those exact words, but it seemed that it came out very much that he wanted to go to a certain team, like he wanted to go to probably a couple teams. He wanted to get a deal that was not favorable to Washington, and Washington just had to take their lumps, go into full rebuild mode, and just ditch the contracts. And that's why they ditched Porzingis too, just trying to get out of all those bad contracts. Yeah. I don't know if Dame would do that to Portland and basically make them get very little back to try and go to Miami, to try and go somewhere to compete right away.
And Miami's it's going to take some time because they don't have enough capital yet to do it. They got to involve other teams to do it.
They have to involve other teams or re-sign some other guys and basically bring back a Gabe Vincent and bring back some other guys and re-sign them and then send them off in the trade. But we'll see. I'm guessing Dame's done things really well to not let stuff slip out and handle this in-house. So I'd like to see that, it would not surprise me if Dame is moved before June 30th.
Yeah,
or around then.
He needs to move on. Like he's been more than loyal. It's great. He's respected. No NBA fan, and even honestly, any Trailblazers fans that are giving him any grief or criticism, then I would question, whether they've been paying attention to the overall picture, to the macro picture of what's going on. So he needs to leave. I hope he's not convinced to stay. It's bad for the NBA if he stays. It's bad for him if he stays. Period. Y'all need to move on. Both of y'all. Portland needs to move on. He needs to move on.
Yeah.
No, how they
think
do
when
it, that's a different
you got
conversation.
that number 3 pick, you get Scoot Henderson.
Yeah.
I said
It's time.
When
It's
you got
time.
Scoot Henderson, you said, yeah, you know what? Try and accentuate the rebuild. I would have tried to move Dame already because I think the longer you go, the less you're going to get for him.
Oh, no question. Yeah, right now, I agree. I think it's going to be tough for them to get max value.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough to get value.
Like,
I think you're trading because, in the NBA, you're not supposed to trade dollars for dimes, right? You're not supposed to trade down and trade, cash money for coins. And it feels like Dame, they go, hey, man, here's all this pocket change. You got a $100 bill. Here's a bunch of pocket change. And you go, cool, I can't pay all these guys. I can't keep all these. Like, this is not a way to win, is 14 guys. I got 5 on a court at once.
Yep.
And you want me to take 14 guys for him. I can't play them all. And so I don't know what you're going to be able to get out of it. You're hoping to basically take all the depth you possibly can and take all the future picks and get as many future picks as you can, hope that Dame only lasts 3 or 4 more years and those picks start coming up and that team is now rebuilding and you're getting good picks in return. I think if I'm trading Dame to Miami, I'm asking for at best top 3 protected, but I want basically unprotected first-round picks.
Yeah, it's a deep conversation about Miami, but I think that Dame Lillard needs to leave. Let me start there, and then
I think Portland needs to move on from him.
Yeah, they do.
I get it.
It's past time for both of them.
I don't see any way that you are a final, like a championship contender this season. I don't know the road path to get there.
No.
Even if you trade Scoot Henderson, I don't know. I just don't think you guys weren't close. It's not like you're a player away. You are 3 or 4 players away from being in the good team. Like, you're just not there.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay, let's move on to this these Heisman odds here. Shout out to my man Steve who sent me these via 247 Sports. So Caesar Sports is apparently the sports book that is presenting these Heisman odds. They have Caleb Williams, of course, who's projected to be the number 1 overall pick, the USC quarterback with the best Heisman odds here at plus 550. Right behind him, tied with the second best odds to win the Heisman in 2023, Quinn Ewers and Jaden Daniels. And kind of goes to something else that I want to get into on the show. We were talking about this last week a little bit. Pro Football Focus ranked their the top quarterback rooms in the country, and they actually ranked the of course USC quarterback room as number 1, goes without saying, but number 2 on their list is LSU. Jaden Daniels and of course Garrett Nussmeier in that quarterback room. Number 3 on this list for Pro Football Focus is Texas in their quarterback room. Kind of reminds me of these Heisman odds a little bit here with Texas being really high, of course, on these Heisman odds, second and tied with LSU, but second to Caleb Williams. So the quarterback rankings of Pro Football Focus kind of mirror these Heisman odds because I think the expectation is that Texas quarterback room this year will be, because of Quinn Ewers, will be one of the best in the country. If that is the case, and Quinn Ewers definitely is in the Heisman conversation, not saying he's going to win it, but if he's in the conversation, Texas has to be in the Big 12 championship conversation, or at least represented in the Big 12 title game. He's not. They're basically saying he's going to be in New York as a finalist for the Heisman. If he's a finalist, that means Texas is either in the Big 12 title or won the Big 12 title.
Yeah,
I don't think you get there without it.
No, because we saw Bijan didn't get there.
Exactly, and Bijan, a lot of people say is a better player, of course, right now than Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, I mean he had a better track record of several years getting there. I think there's that Big 12 title game seems kind of like the floor for everything that the Texas Longhorns do this season. If you're not in that Big 12 title game, it's going to raise a lot of red flags.
Yeah.
For
what went wrong?
Yeah, but it's for recruits, for people talking about the coaches, for everybody going, wait a minute, you guys are supposed to be at this point in your rebuild. You got Quinn Ewers is supposed to be going to the Heisman ceremony in New York. You guys are supposed to, all these things are supposed to be in check marks. And what are you going to tell us now is the reason not? Now, again, if there's massive injuries, whatever, you get that, whatever. But this seems more and more pieces are coming together that is not, hey, where we want to be. That is becoming the floor for this season, that anything below it is going to be
massive disappointment,
catastrophic failure.
Yeah. Jordan Travis of Florida State, Cade Klubnik, shout out to the Westlake product at Clemson, and J.J. McCarthy, the Michigan quarterback, are all tied with the third best Heisman odds, according to Caesars, behind Caleb Williams at plus 550, Quinn Ewers at plus 1,000, along with Jaden Daniels, and then Drake May. They got Drake May at plus 1,600, tied with Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. from Washington, who we all saw in the bowl game, who I think we all really like, who's damn good. And they got Sam Hartman at Notre Dame at plus 2,000, the former Wake Forest product.
Yeah, I think Drake May is falling into that. He plays at North Carolina. We're not sure he's going to get the coverage in the ACC, and
that's fair.
And I don't think anybody necessarily has the faith that Mac Brown's got a team that's going to put him in the ACC champion, like put him up at that same level. So it may not even be, his stats may be great, but how much does that mean if you're not playing for playing for something big?
He'll still be drafted in the top 5 and top 10. He'll be the second quarterback off the board behind Caleb Williams. I agree with that. Unless something crazy, unless Quinn Ewers has an unbelievable season where he demands to be drafted.
And we saw with Sam Howell. Sam Howell was projected to be the number 1 overall quarterback at one point, and then falls pretty far in that draft because his second year, the O-line was not playing well at all for North Carolina, and his numbers just went down a lot. So there is also that, you never know. These guys that have really good sophomore seasons, sometimes teams kind of figure them out a little bit better. But I think being in the ACC and then for Penix being in the Pac-12 kind of hurts both those teams, hurts both those odds.
Yeah, no, I think you make a good point there. The Manning passing camp was this weekend as well. Quinn Ewers was one of the quarterbacks that attended the Manning Passing Academy, and they go through different drills and stuff and competitions. The write-up from On3 about Quinn Ewers' performance at the Manning Passing Academy is, quote, remember the confident quarterback who had Alabama's defense on its heels before he exited the game with an injury? That's the Ewers that showed up to Friday evening's quarterback competition in South Louisiana. Ewers throws an effortless ball and showed the ability to hit on a variety of passes. Texas fans are excited for the future in five-star signee Arch Manning, but with Manning's father, Cooper, on the microphone for Friday night's skills competition, the praise was for Ewers, who came early and often. Ewers is the present in Austin, and the upside is clear. So there you go.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I'm happy that Sark, this coaching staff, and whatever he's been doing has gotten his confidence back up to where it needs to be. Because to be the leader he needs to be the player he needs to be, that confidence needs to be up there.
There's no doubt, and I think he had to really embrace the leadership role this year because last year, Rojo and Bijan, those real leaders.
Yeah.
And even though he's at the position of quarterback, I don't know if he embraced that last year. This year, he's got to be that guy. So that's a big part of it, too. So that's getting back to the confidence. That's why you got to have that confidence. You got to be the alpha in a room of alpha males. You got to be that guy. So Quinn Ewers, good rave review so far, but yeah, man, still, until he does it on the field, I think obviously people will be cautiously optimistic.
How do you deal with adversity?
And how do you read a defense? That's a big part. I was like, oh, he looks great at the 7-on-7 Manning Passing Academy. I was like, oh, that's great.
How many people were trying to kill you while you were throwing the ball?
Exactly. And was there a pre-snap shell disguise that you had to decipher and diagnose? But I do think he's going to be really good this year, so that is the hope. If he's not, Texas won't compete for the Big 12. If he's good, Texas competes, damn near wins the Big 12. All right, we come back. We'll get into Off the Record on the other side. There's another element, another chapter, if you will, to the billionaire face-off potential cage match between Mark Zuckerberg and also between Elon Musk. We'll discuss that. Also, other news, notes, and nuggets from Off the Record right here on Ball Don't Lie 104.9 Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Time for another edition of Off the Record. A little bit of a smorgasbord of different topics for Off the Record. Okay, so the first one, and I'm sure you heard about this while you were on vacation, Patrick, but maybe you didn't, that Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk have basically, via Twitter beef that is now potentially going to spill over into the mixed martial arts world, and now Dana White is saying that they are both dead serious, that both of these billionaires do want to face off in a MMA-style exhibition match, which he says will be the biggest, it'll be the biggest hand-to-hand combat event in history of pay-per-view. Dana White says.
I tried to avoid it while I was on vacation.
Yeah,
it's one of those things. I'd see it on my phone, and they'd be like, "Nope, no, we're not buying, not doing that today. Trying to have a good time."
Hey man, it's still building
going.
up.
Yeah, Dana White, the man who hates gimmick fights more than anything. Gimmick fights will never work. Here's the two billionaires fighting.
Hey, he sees straight cash.
No,
homie
I know.
back in the days.
He is a massive hypocrite because
Yes.
he is
Well.
someone that is multiple times basically chided anyone who has a gimmick fight. Or you fight like one of the Paul brothers or something like that. He says that's bad business. It's terrible. It'll never work. You should never do that. And then someone offers him a gimmick fight for him to promote, and he's like, "It's the greatest fight in the history of fights." So
Hey,
he's just a hypocrite.
He's doing his best Don King
He
impression
is.
there.
He is. Yeah. I don't think it'll happen.
I don't know if it'll happen, but I am praying it does. I'm hoping. I really do. They might get my money on this one. This is wild. But the obviously Mark Zuckerberg, he's a jiu-jitsu mixed martial artist, or at least he's training in jiu-jitsu, and his trainer is an MMA fighter, Kai the Shadow Wu. He's been training with him since last year. And when he was asked about who would win, he said, "I just go train. I can only speak on how hard he works. He works really hard. He's a really nice guy. But to be honest with you, I'm not sure how the fight will play out, so I don't want to speculate." But I'm like, I think this is crazy. So he said he doesn't know how it's going to work out, but he doesn't want to speculate.
No.
So he wouldn't say his guy's going to win, though, which that don't make me feel good about picking Zuckerberg. I picked Elon Musk. They both have been training in mixed martial arts, and I think Elon's like 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, look.
Zuckerberg's
The
real
only way.
small.
First of all, I will tell you. I will not watch it. I will not pay for it. Y'all just have your fun. Go have your rich people fun. But if you made it a slap fight,
Slap fight?
if they just did a slap fight,
You be down with that, just slapping each other?
yeah, because that seems like it'd be way more funny and humiliating. Because two guys just kind of wrestling on the ground for a while and then coming out as a draw is what's going to happen if they fight.
The hope is that they're so narcissistic and so egotistical and so narcissistic that they'll one of them will go off and punch the other in the face, and
Yeah.
then we just get to see a billionaire get punched in the face. And don't we all want to see,
Yeah.
even if it's by another
But that's the
billionaire,
thing is,
a billionaire get punched in the
someone,
face?
As someone who's watched Floyd Mayweather fight enough times, I don't pay money for things that I hope happen.
That is true. That's what they hope.
Yeah, that's why I watch wrestling, because I know it'll be a good fight every time.
That is fair.
You're like, hey, when I watch wrestling, they are paid to put on a show. These other guys are paid to try and win. They're two different things. And
Oh,
so
man.
I watch wrestling.
That's a good point. Okay, real quick, how about this as another? This is going to be a great kind of business model here. I don't know if this is going to become popular or not, but I think it's brilliant. So Maury Povich, the renowned TV host who's known for revealing, paternity tests on his show, "You Are Not the Father." How about this? He is now going to have his own at-home DNA test that he is going to basically, I'm sure he's creating or whatever. It's called The Results Are In, the new business. Aims to provide families with an accessible solution to the questions he's explored on his show. So basically, he's going to have his own paternity test that you could take-home paternity test. Sorry, DNA test.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, not paternity. DNA test. I apologize.
Yeah.
DNA test.
You know what?
Good idea, bad idea.
Oh, it's a great idea. Great idea to have questionable results come up on these. It seems, what could go wrong? People dancing when they think it, and then they find out later that it's not admissible in court. And
Hopefully.
they have to take another one, and then they are the father. Just great stuff.
He said DNA testing kits provide all the necessary materials and instructions to collect DNA samples themselves.
I can't wait for this TikTok trend.
And then you send it off to a lab, and I think you get it back in 2 to 3 days. He said 99.99% accurate. just like on the show.
Yeah, TikTok trend. This is
DNA
what's going to
test.
happen.
There
You'll
you
see TikToks of people checking out if they're actually related and find some fun facts in life.
There you go. All right, a little off the record. We'll come back. We'll get into Texas football and basketball, both getting big commitments, and a factoid about the NIL arms race that may shock you. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie. 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about my friend and your friend, too, Dr. Greg Eckert, because one thing I know about Dr. Greg Eckert and his all-star team is they can provide any service you need that concerns your dental health or hygiene, whether it's general dentistry or whether it's teeth whitening, dentures, porcelain crowns, veneers, dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, even root canal therapy, whatever it takes to ensure you're getting the best quality dental care available. That's what Dr. Greg Eckert and his fantastic team are all about. And matter of fact, they even specialize in easing your dental anxiety. So if you've been a little stressed out about going to the dentist, like myself, and like a lot of us are, don't worry about that. That's what Dr. Greg Eckert and his team specialize in, so they can put you at ease with any exam or any procedure you're going to have with Dr. Greg Eckert. And also, one thing I also know about Dr. Greg Eckert, he's always on the cutting edge of the technological advances in dentistry, trying to give you the best quality dental care experience available. And right now, he can give you a brand new smile in just one day. We're talking about permanently secured to your dental implants. You got no time spent without teeth. You get temporary fixtures until they complete your permanent smile, and you'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. We're talking about a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, call Dr. Greg Eckert today to learn about this revolutionary alternative to dentures. It's a brand new smile in just one day. It sounds too good to be true. It's not. It's just Dr. U. It's a complimentary consultation, so you got nothing to lose but everything to gain, because Dr. Eckert understands that a confident smile can truly change your life. The quality of your smile can truly change the quality of your life. So reach out today, 512-345-3166. That's 512-345-3166, or visit dreckert.com, DRUECKERT.com. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie, and back to DJ a Smooth Soul Monday. I mean, he's the guy that came up with it. He's the idealionaire, my man Patrick Davis, so we appreciate him being back with us. But a Smooth Soul Monday intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who might have had a tough weekend, and I guess that was the case for the Astros and the Rangers. Both losing their weekend series. Not good. But speaking of baseball, the big baseball game tonight is the College World Series finale. And there's been a lot of discussion about whether Paul Skeens is going to be available at any time for the LSU Tigers. And this is from Leah Van. Shout out to my man CB, sent it to us via Twitter. And she is a writer for The Advocate. And she says, here's the tweet. Paul Skeens is available. This was 6 minutes ago. We have not heard that he is not available, is what I was told. And then she follows up that tweet by saying, I do not know for how long, nor for how many pitches, nor when he will come in the game. That remains to be seen. For those who don't know, Paul Skeens is the predicted, it'll be him or some other guy to be the number one overall pick in the upcoming Major League Baseball draft. And he is the transfer. Maybe that's a big topic of conversation now about how much LSU has invested in NIL to get guys from the transfer portal, because not only do they have Paul Skeens, who's projected to be the number one overall pick in the draft, but they got, what's his name, Tommy White, Tommy Tanks, I think they call him. He's another guy they got via the transfer portal, I think from NC State, and he's awesome. I mean, they just, obviously LSU is loaded, but part of the reason they're loaded is because they've done a really good job of maximizing talent in the transfer portal. Both of those guys they got this year, and that may have been what put them on the top, but that's not even the best player, or at least the guy that was given the Player of the Year award, which was Dylan Cruz for LSU. So they are loaded. Yeah,
they're very loaded. Florida is also pretty loaded. Both those teams seem to be in there. Our boy Harge called in to let us know.
Yes.
If you are wondering what Harge's pick is, Harge has LSU winning tonight.
He does. Yep. Harge wanted to let us know. I was like, man, take your vacation. But he wanted us to know that, yes, he has LSU winning tonight. And, yeah, I think the biggest headline, of course, is whether, or at least the biggest uncertainty, is whether Paul Skeens at one point will be available. And he's got the best stuff in college baseball. That's why he's going to be the number one overall pick. The game two history was not the good kind of history for LSU. The Tigers took an early 3-1 lead through 2 innings, and then Florida pounded their way back and had 23 unanswered runs to put an Old Testament-style butt whipping on LSU. Florida's 24 runs were the most runs any team has ever scored in a single game at the College World Series. Of course, I think we could assume that was a record, but that was crazy to watch. If you saw any part of it, it was crazy to watch.
Yeah, that looked like how Oklahoma does it in the softball.
Oh, you're right about that. That's exactly how it looks, and that's not supposed to happen. Even in softball, it's not supposed to be happening.
No,
but they do it with regularity.
You normally wouldn't see something that would be a run rule in the finals.
Yeah, that's a great point. I guess there's no run rule.
No, once you get the finals, I get you don't want to. That way, it's kind of taken away from everybody if you.
No, I agree with you. No, but problem for LSU was they left a lot of runners on base, a lot of stranded runners. Apparently, that's their big issue, and it's been a big issue for them all season long. They left 17 runners on base on Saturday, and then followed that up on Sunday with leaving 10 runners on base stranded in the first 5, and then stranded the bases loaded in each of the first 3 innings, despite scoring 3 runs in the first 2 innings. So even when they were scoring runs, they still left a lot of guys stranded. We'll see if they can bring more of those guys home and see if they can bring the trophy home. I don't know who to root for in this one, LSU or Florida.
I know.
Yeah, that's weird. I really don't. I don't think I have any rooting interest. Usually I can find some reason to root for a team. I don't really think I have any rooting interest at all for either one of these teams.
No.
And I don't hate either one either.
You just want it to be a good game. Yeah. This is one of those ones, you just need to be a good game, and maybe somewhere through it. Like if Skeens comes in like the 7th inning or 6th inning and then pitches 3 innings, defying all odds, and then maybe you get behind that a little bit. But Yeah, I think it's going to have to be an in-game storyline.
I'm with you on that. That's a good point. Okay, let's get to the storyline for the Longhorns. There are a couple of them over the weekend, but let's start with the one that happened today. So the big news for the Longhorns today happened to be Texas basketball. We'll get to Texas football and those commitments, but Texas basketball got some great news earlier today that they were getting a commitment from a two-way combo guard, four-star Chris Johnson, who was most recently signed with Kansas. He was a Kansas signee, so I don't know how it all worked out where he was no longer had to be signed with Kansas, but got out of that and now is committing to the Longhorns. He is from Houston, leave out of Mo City. My favorite nugget that I heard about this recruitment, Patrick, was from On3, so I'll give them a ton of credit. His quote, and it goes to show you the ties of Texas. They are strong. He said, another reason I picked Texas is how Texas plays. Shout out to Rodney Terry, like they said. Another reason is how Texas plays. I watched them a lot last year, and I've been in the gym with a guy like Sir'Jabari Rice since middle school. And I just feel more comfortable going to Texas knowing that Rice survived and was so successful in the program. And also, TJ Ford is a mentor for me. The things he did there and the culture at Texas were big. So, sounds like, two ties, either admiration for Sir'Jabari Rice, who two-way deal with the Spurs. Shout out, two-way contract with the Spurs. Or him being mentored by TJ Ford. And TJ Ford is still basketball royalty, not only here, but in H-Town. Just so y'all know.
I mean, he should be in college basketball.
Yeah,
he's easily one of the greatest college basketball players to ever play. Easily top 20, if not top 10.
Oh, wow.
I mean, when you talk about what he did over his career, because a lot of these guys who say they're best college played one season, right? And so when you say over what he did over his career, what he was able to do with Texas, what he was able to do from his size, all those things, TJ Ford is just on another level of all-time college basketball players, or at least let's put it this way: in the
era, most recent era. Yeah.
There may I can't go back to the UCLA days.
Yeah,
I don't know them well enough.
No, or the heyday of college basketball when guys actually stayed in school longer and that kind of thing. But I'm with you. Most recent era. No question about it. He's like I said, guys still to this day, this young guy coming out of H-Town, I don't know how old he is, can't be older than 18, somewhere like that. And he's saying, oh man, TJ Ford still to this day is a guy that he admires a lot. And he's been a mentor. So TJ Ford put in some work. Now, TJ Ford is originally from Mo City in H-Town. And I believe this guy is also from Mo City, not from the same school. I think TJ went to Willow Ridge. He's from a different school, but Mo City still same stomping grounds there. So a shout out to TJ Ford for planting the seeds with the young man. And shout out to Rodney Terry. That's a great compliment, Patrick, that he's basically saying, this young man saying, oh no, I like the way Texas played.
Yeah.
I always give Sark a lot of credit that he's great at recruiting, doing a really good job, but part of it is his offense is just an attractive, fun offense to watch and imagine yourself playing in. And that's what basically Chris Johnson did. He's imagining himself playing for Texas and going, oh man, I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I think there's something of the unselfishness of the staff and the coaching staff and as the players that you can watch in the players, and they are kind of kicking the ball around, finding the open guy, going to see who's hot hand and getting it going. There was times last season where you were going, hey, man, get it to your big hands. There was times where you're like, get the ball to Marcus Carr. Like he's open for a reason. Stop throwing the ball. He's open for a reason. He's not hitting shots. Get it to your hottest hand. Get it to your best player that you feel is most consistent when no one's hitting. But they are very much built on, everyone can be the star, everyone can take the shot, and let's go get the best guy. And for somebody coming in, especially if in today's game where there's the transfer portal so big and, people don't want to be going to 4 years of college. They want to be able to go to the draft. If you're one of the top, you want to be able to move up. You want to be able to go, hey, man, I want to be able to get my time. Arterio Morris, we talked about earlier, transfers out is one of the reasons he doesn't feel he's going to get his shine enough at Texas. He feels, bringing in A. Smith and other stuff that maybe he's not going to get the playing time and get the leash that he wants.
That's probably right.
You get a freshman coming in now who is going to be able to step into that role that was going to be meant more for what Arterio Morris was going to be this year and get some run. And he's not going to play a ton of minutes just because I think that's another thing they don't, you just don't play freshmen. It takes a little while.
Yeah, especially in transfer portal era.
Yeah.
You get so many vets.
You basically have to be able to figure out where he can fit in. And it's going to be, too, what he does on the defensive end. We know he can score. He needs to improve his 3-point shooting, but everyone in today's game, there's very few guys that are actually just 40% 3-point shooters consistently.
Yep.
So, Texas is going to be working on 3-point shots plenty this offseason. I'm sure he's going to be getting to Austin, and I believe he actually signed the papers today. So he'll be getting here as soon as he can. And, just start getting, trying to get that shot figured out. But scoring-wise, it's the question of if he can get that 3-point shot a little bit better, then it comes into that, can you pull people to you at the line, then drive past him and go create?
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Rodney Terry will allow you to score in the mid-range, which some of these coaches today are not as big a fan of mid-range. They'd rather you either get to the big man in the post or shoot threes and not play that. Rodney Terry will allow you to do that as well.
Yeah, you're right, because Serge Rice worked the mid-range. Timmy Allen
didn't exist other than that.
Yeah, you're right. That's a great point about the mid-range. And then, of course, later on, Dylan Dessou.
Yeah.
With what they call it, the flotation station.
But even like Marcus Carr's go-to shot was that little drive in, pull up at like 15, 20, and hit that shot.
It's a great point. I agree with you about the mid-range stuff and analytics. Basically, analytics is anti-mid-range. Tells you that it's not necessarily worth it's not the value of the mid-range shot is low. It's what analysts will tell you.
Yes, they will tell you that you will even out and come out ahead if you only shoot layups and threes. That you're percentage-wise, analytically,
over
supposed
time,
to, you will win more games if you shoot that way than if you go in. Anyone I've ever seen talk about the game he plays, it does not believe that. So I think there is a middle ground to it.
Agreed.
But, you want to say, oh, that makes sense. You want to take more high percentage shots. But I think just completely going into it can have diminishing returns at points, especially once you get to the playoffs.
Well, then you get your skill sets too, right? You get guys who have varying skill sets. You go, oh, man, this guy's got a nice move. He's got the flotation station, that kind of stuff. And then you adjust it. So I'm with you. I think it's a marriage of both. Getting back to Texas here. It's called Texas football here. So we're talking about Rodney Terry and how his offense is an offense that's leading to him being able to pull some of these high-level prospects because they want to play in his offense. A lot of guys want to play in Sark's offense too, and that's why Sark can keep recruiting high-level talent on the offensive side of the ball, specifically in the backfield at the running back position. Now, let's give Tashard Choice a lot of credit here because Tashard Choice, because in this previous draft, he had Bijan Robinson picked in the top 10, and Jahmyr Gibbs, who also coached at Georgia Tech, had him picked in the first round. 2 running backs drafted in the first round, and Tashard Choice can walk into a living room of a running back prospect and say, yeah, I coached both of those guys. Yeah. And, you kind of remind me of a little bit of Bijan. You kind of remind me a little bit of Jahmyr Gibbs, He can say he's the only guy in the country that can walk into a room and say that. So his sales pitch is just unbelievable right now. And he is closing. ABC, always be closing. Tashard Choice is closing. So in addition to last year, him getting C.J. Baxter, this is second consecutive, if this commitment turns into a signee, which we all hope that it does. This will be the second consecutive recruiting cycle that Tashard Choice has went into Florida and poached the top running back. That's wild because Florida is a fertile recruiting ground, and that is a football mecca. And he's just walking up in there swagged out and just taking the top running back. And you're talking about, Miami, and right now he chose Texas over Miami, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee. Yeah, because they're all recruiting the state of Florida. Who doesn't? And now so is Texas. That is a really impressive little recruiting resume by Tashard Choice here at Texas. We knew that he was a rainmaker in the recruiting world. He is proving right now that he may be in the running to be the top recruiter in the country potentially. Like he's in that kind of conversation. So Jared Gibson is the running back that committed to Texas. He's 5'11", 200 pounds. He is, by ESPN, they have him as the top running back. I believe 247 Sports has him as the second ranked running back. On3 has him as the second ranked running back in the country. And he is, by all the different evals about him, the different evaluations. He's from the IMG Academy, by the way. Different evaluations say that it's a guy that projects to be, a high-level running back. Only runs a 4.5, 200 pounds, but in the film, you don't ever see the first guy tackle him. Really good at breaking the first tackle, breaking the first line of defense. And right now, Texas is stockpiling running backs. So number 1 running back in the country in 2023, number 2 running back in the country in 2024, And then you just add that on to Jonathan Brooks, who was, I think, the number 21 running back in the country, Mr. Texas football. And you got 2022, you still got Jaden Blue on here, who was like number 10 or something in the country. That it will be a stacked running back room. Of course, this is for 2024, of course, but still, Sark's stockpiling running backs. And it does make me wonder if Sark will continue to use the multi-back sets. The assumption last year, at least my assumption, was that he was using more multi-back sets because of the talent that he had, right? You got Bijan and Roger. You got two NFL running backs in your backfield. Why not put them on the field at the same time? It only makes sense to weaponize them in that manner, and Sark did, because Sark's a smart offensive guy. And I wonder now, since it's not a necessity to get those running backs on the field and they're younger and inexperienced and unproven commodities, will he wait to use more of the multi-back sets until those guys prove themselves, or will we see more 11 personnel with 3 wide receivers, or even 10 personnel with 4 wide receivers, because you're so deep at wide receiver, and that's where all your talent is. And, of course, Quinn Ewers, who is your top weapon, means to distribute the football. He, right now, is also seen as a guy, we just talked about it, to a second-best Heisman odds at Caesars right now. He is seen as one of your top weapons. All of your best weapons, for the sake of your identity, are in the passing game and not in the running game like they were last season. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we'll also see some two-tailback with Keelan Robinson in there just because he has trust value with him, knowing the offense, that we could see some of that where if he wants to try some stuff with the younger guys that haven't had the playing time, go, okay, we'll do 2 tailbacks, but I want Keelan in there because I know he knows what we're doing.
I like that.
And he may be able to see something and tell him across or whatever. But I could see that a lot, too, of not having 2 of the younger guys in at the same time. Maybe have somebody else who has – or maybe Savion Red, who I know is learning a new position but knows the offense better. Somebody that has been in the offense for a little bit longer to help some of these younger guys out.
That's a great point, too, because you got Jay Brooks, who he's a veteran now, so he should be a guy that you should trust at this point, too, even though he hasn't proven it to a large degree. I think he's definitely
he doesn't have the playing time, but he's got the practice time.
Yeah, man, that's a nice haul of backs though. It really is. And like I said, give Tashard Choice a ton of credit. That, by the way, some people have him, or at least some services have him as a 5-star. So that would be the 7th 5-star for Sark in the first 3 classes, if that's the case. That would be as many as the 7 classes prior, going back to Charlie Strong's first year. So Sark is doing the damn thing.
And now it's just the thing that none of them could do, which is develop the talent.
Yeah, but I would say last year was better.
No, exactly. I'm not putting Sark in that equation.
Yes.
I'm putting the coaches before him.
Yes.
I don't want to put him in there because he hasn't had the time yet to do it. But the other coaches, one of the reasons why they are not coaching here anymore is because player development really tailed off.
No question. And another thing that tailed off was the offensive line recruitment at Texas and, of course, development there. Right now, shout out to the Pancake Factory, BMDs.
Shout out to the people who thought of the Pancake Factory.
Yes.
Shout out to them as well.
And I know Kyle Flood's doing a great job, so I'm not trying to disrespect Kyle Flood and his efforts. He's killing it, but it does make it easier to have the Pancake Factory, guys. Come on now. I mean, that is 50 G's a year for every scholarship offensive lineman, so shout out to
it's a nice way to start the conversation. If I pick up the phone and someone's talking to me and it starts with 50 G's,
come on,
I'm listening.
Exactly. As I said, I mean, Tashard Choice is doing a great job, but his sales pitch is, hey, man, the 2 running backs drafted in the first round last year, I coached both of them. Yeah. So I can tell you what a good running back is, what an NFL running back looks like, and you look like one. You want to come play for me? Yes, I do. The pitch for Kyle Flood, a little bit different.
Hey, and not only that, I want to show you, hey, let's bring in that Bijan Mustardson mascot in. This is NIL money right here. This dude has a mascot.
No question. So, so they get a offensive line commitment, 3-star offensive lineman Nate Kibble out of Atascocita, 6'4"-ish, maybe even closer to 6'5", 310 to 315 pounds, 80-inch wingspan, and they just continue to stockpile big humans. They've in the previous 2 classes, Texas signed 12 offensive linemen in their previous 2 classes, and they have one right now, one of the best offensive line stockpiles in the country. Keep in mind, they returned all the offensive linemen from last season. Every last one of them that started last season returns. And by the way, every one of the offensive linemen that started last year started every game for them, wire to wire. So the continuity and chemistry between that group is right now fantastic. It's perfect, exactly where you want it. But then you may have upgrades behind them on the depth chart. Guys who have a higher ceiling than the guys you're bringing back with all the experience. So the offensive line is in a situation where it's in a position where it should exponentially excel next season once you get those younger guys infused into the rotation. There should be no regression on the O-line. If there is, that's a huge problem. Like, you brought back all the old linemen from last season, and you're infusing higher ceiling offensive linemen within that rotation. If there's an offensive line regression next season, I would be shocked.
Yeah, the only way I could really see that happening is just more long developing plays, making the numbers look somewhat worse.
Good.
Just because you're saying, all right, if we're going full on passing game, the defense knows that we're not going to run the ball as much. There could be some numbers. I don't think the play, if you eye test wise, wouldn't be a regression, but just numbers wise, to go from we had two of the best running backs. Like, there's going to be more carries for a loss this season because of how many times Bijan and Roja got hit behind the line of scrimmage and didn't get a loss.
No,
like those numbers will change a little bit.
No, I know, but then what makes up for that should be your offensive line development because you're going to be so much better. But and obviously Bijan and Roja are they're extraordinary talent when it comes to breaking tackles and turning negative plays into positive ones. And you should have some balance based on the play calling. But man, that offensive line haul right now, there aren't 4 offensive line rooms in the country better than Texas. Like, they're in the top 5.
Yeah, I think that helps when you're getting running backs too. Is he looking
that
at
also,
O-line?
yes.
Hey man,
they go hand in hand.
Hey man, let me go show you Kelvin Banks. You know all these defensive linemen drafted? They didn't get past him.
That's a great point, though. That's as part of the sales pitch, too. It's like, yeah, these are the guys going to be blocking for you.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with that. All right, we come back. I will give you an NIL factoid and stat that will blow your mind, and also we'll talk a little bit more about Texas football and how that relates to the factoid on the other side.
Quick note for you.
Go ahead.
Thanks to all our texters. Apparently, we're supposed to be rooting for Florida because LSU and Texas are tied in national titles right now. So if LSU wins another title, they pass Texas in national titles. That is what many of our Texers has told us.
Okay.
So Florida, there is a rooting interest in Florida for Texas fans. So thank you, Texers, for telling us that.
All right. I'm not opposed to that. All right. Root for the Gators then. I'm down with that. I'm cool with that. All right. We'll do that on the other side. We'll come right back. This is Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about my favorite tequila, my go-to tequila. It's Hot Cat Tequila. The cat stands for cinnamon, agave, and tequila, and the recipe is just as simple and just as delicious. It's just cinnamon, agave, and tequila. That's why it's so light. That's why it's so smooth. It's every tequila lover's dream, and if you're not a fan of tequila, well, Hot Cat Tequila will turn you into a fan of tequila. It'll make any event a party, and every party feels like a celebration. So celebrate and turn up with my favorite tequila, Hot Cat Tequila. And once you try Hot Cat, you'll never, ever, ever go back to that old cinnamon whiskey or that cheap tequila you order rounds of when you were trying to just get the party started. But turn up your party with Hot Cat Tequila. It's the perfect way to pregame for all the big games, concerts, festivals, or any night on the town with family and friends. It's best served cold for a quick round of shots or to sip on the rocks. So visit Cat Tequila. That's cattequila.com to find a store near you that sells Hot Cat Tequila or to find a bar near you that serves Hot Cat Tequila. Toast and turn up with Hot Cat Tequila. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Time to get to Rod's Round the Day. Tomorrow, I'll probably dive deeper into some Longhorn football research that I've been doing, getting ready for the season. So we'll have some more Texas, and actually, ironically, it actually was connected to running backs for Texas. So we'll get into that tomorrow since, Texas did have some running back commitments. They also had a commitment from another running back too. We didn't even bring that up really, but it was Christian Clark, who's the number 20 running back in the country. So looks like Tashard Choice is cooking on the recruiting trail. Somebody else who's cooking in the NIL arms race, and I was shocked to see this. Sports Business Journal, pretty legit outfit. They put up a graphic, and they got the info via Open Doors. Open Doors is one of the pioneers, one of the first companies to track the transactions of the NIL world and actually try to track NIL compensation. And they've been doing it since it became the law of the land. And I see their information and all their stats at a lot of different places. And this is another place where Sports Business Journal is using the Open Doors information in their data. They claim that the top conferences for NIL compensation are in this order. The Big 12, numero uno, number 1. Number 2, the Big 10. Number 3, the Pac-12. Number 4, the SEC. And then number 5, the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference. So among the Power 5 conferences, Open Doors and Sports Business Journal are claiming the Big 12 actually has the top NIL compensation. Now, one of the theories is that the SEC, because it just means more, they're still spending a ton of money, in the NIL world, but they also are still spending money under the table. There's still an old apparatus in place, old mechanisms in place, because NIL has only been around, around 2 years. Still old mechanisms in place that some of the SEC schools are using to help them in the NIL arms race, meaning it's illegal, right, to recruit a player using NIL as an incentive. But once they get on campus, then you can give them all the NIL opportunities you want. But to, incentivize players, you can still have the bag man who drops off a little bit of cash, and you need clean cash, under the table cash. And if that's the case, you still need an underground network or apparatus to help you do that, to entice a kid to come to your school, to actually take advantage of the NIL opportunities. But to win the recruiting battle with another school, you might have to drop off 20 G's. And you can't do that in the NIL world, and that cannot be reported. But that's the bagman's job.
Yeah.
That's the only theory I can think of, is that there's still a guy in Colorado that's selling weed even though it's legal, and maybe that's the SEC is full of those guys.
Yeah, and I'll give that. I bet there's, but like, if you want to say Texas, A&M spent a ton of money.
They spent a ton of money.
So if we want to say Texas has, I'm imagining A&M is close to Texas in amount of money they're spending in NIL. Maybe not overall in all sports, but at least in football, I would assume that they're somewhat close, because we've seen the recruiting classes they brought in. We've seen the people who may not have a job there anymore saying, look up at these booths. Look up these, where these people are paying for you. Like, so even then you would assume that the SEC would come up a little bit. I get Texas as a state, for Texas Tech, for TCU, for Baylor, all those schools that are in the Big 12. I probably has a little different mindset of how they spend money in NIL, that I think there's a lot more chest sticking out, that you're maybe sticking out that we're spending more money, and Texas kind of made it that way as a plan early on to really make it, hey, man, let's make ourselves the best team at NIL.
No, it's surprising to me. Like I said, I think there are different variables that could lead to this, and it could just be underreported. The SEC just doesn't report their stuff.
Yeah, I
they
would
can be
assume
that
that's
simple
part
too.
of it too. Yeah,
they just like, you know what? They just don't report it, and maybe they're supposed to, and they don't give a damn, or maybe their state law doesn't require them to report certain things because Texas just changed their NIL state law, where now there's more privacy for the NIL deals and the partners, so you can't get as much information that's not out there as much as it used to be. So maybe it could be that too. Maybe they just don't have access to a lot of the records. I'm not sure.
And a lot of those NIL deals as well are deals where you have to. There is something like you are being hired to do something. So whether it's appearances or something, whatever it is, you're not just getting paid. Like there's appearances or autograph signings or whatever else for your name, image, and likeness. And on bags, there isn't.
Yeah,
and
they're tax free.
They're
tax free.
Hey, here, man, it's 20 G's. Go win. That's it.
Or 20 G's, like, hey, man, I just need you to make sure you're committing to us and not to
go play football. Yeah. I'm paying you to play football.
No,
I don't care about the others. So there may be some of that still going around where people are just like, hey, man, let's not report anything. Let's just do, because that's how we've always done it.
The bag man definitely still exists. I do believe at one point there will be a transition to make the bag man above the table, because NIL gives you that opportunity, and the laws are not very harsh. They're not very restrictive. There aren't a lot of penalties. So I think now the old apparatus is still in place. And there will some schools will always have a bag man. That's just the way they're going to operate. I shouldn't say schools. Some boosters and donors will always have a bag man. That's how they work.
And I'll give you a time frame too. When college football playoffs eventually takes over for NCAA, and when they start to push those NCAA down, and there is an actual group that may be able to enforce some laws and rules, then I think maybe you'll see people be like, hey, let's play by the rules now, because I don't think anybody in the SEC is really worried about the NCAA.
Well, nobody's worried about this. I don't think it's just unfortunately. I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, but nobody's worried about the NCAA. Not even people breaking the rules or outside the rules. They're a non-factor right now.
Yeah. So you're like, why do we got to change and do things their way?
No, I agree with you on that. So it's just it was a mind-blowing figure. I thought I'd bring up. And sorry, go ahead, real quick. Go.
No, I agree. I was just saying, I agree. That is a really weird number.
I can't. And by the way, we know that at least 80+% of this has to be football and men's basketball, just based on the numbers from the Austin Business Journal. I'll give them credit because they had a great write-up about NIL in the state of Texas and the University of Texas. And in their story, they had 81%, actually I think 82% of all the NIL compensation at Texas was basically football and men's basketball. And then the rest divided up between the other sports. Softball was third, women's swimming and diving was fourth, women's basketball was fifth, men's swimming and diving was sixth, women's volleyball was seventh, men's golf 8, men's track and field 9, and baseball was 10th. We talked about this. And NIL compensation, which is not good. So it can't be the other sports, is my point. Like it's not like the other sports in the Big 12, they're flourishing and that's what it is. No, we're talking about football. We're talking about the revenue generating sports. This is about football and men's basketball. So it's got to be something else, because just the SEC is definitely spending money.
Yeah.
Tons of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're spending money in baseball.
Exactly.
Look at what the world.
They just got Paul Skeens.
The finals is right now.
Exactly.
And I guarantee they're spending the money on that too. Which, by the way, we'll say, since Texas didn't go to the College World Series, all your saved up money for Jello shots, put the Texas One Fund, and go help out them baseball players, and let's get them better than 10th. Yeah,
TexasOneFund.org. No, seriously, it is baseball. You're talking about it's supposed to be a blue blood baseball program.
Come on.
And they're 10th in NIL compensation at Texas. Yeah, that's not good.
I will say, I'm going to take the positive. I think it's good for other sports that people are donating there as well.
Oh, it's
so
great.
That is very good. But I think baseball 10th, if they were 5th or 6th, I maybe could believe it more.
There you
10th
go.
just seems very low.
I mean, like I said, shout out to softball. Softball's killing it. Softball has the third most NIL compensation at Texas out of all the different sports. Third. The ladies are killing it. And then women's swimming and diving is 4th. Women's basketball is 5th.
Yeah. Shout out to women's basketball. Just announced December 3rd. UConn coming to Moody Center. Yeah. Gonna have a big game there.
Oh, nice. That'll
Texas
be cool.
versus UConn at the Moody Center.
So yeah, It's really interesting about the NIL world. I will say that the boosters and donors that I talked to prior to NIL becoming the law of the land, or right around the time it was become the law of the land, they're setting up the directives and the collectives. And directive is just one sugar daddy, and the collective is a bunch of sugar daddies or sugar mamas, equal opportunity, whatever. As long as you got the cash, nobody cares. They told me straight out that Texas plans on being the NIL capital of major college sports. And if you look at the same company that Sports Business Journal got their information from, and the same company I was talking about, Open Doors, the CEO, Blake Lawrence, he, in that story from Austin's Business Journal, claimed that out of the hundreds of millions of dollars they tracked and thousands of transactions, hundreds of thousands of transactions they tracked, he said Texas athletics is number one in the country in their data set when it comes to NIL compensation for student athletes. So it's an arms race, though. So just because you're right now leading doesn't mean you're going to continue to lead. But a big part of why the Big 12, I'm assuming, is in the lead of NIL compensation when it comes to Power 5 conference is because Texas right now is a rainmaker in the NIL world. But they got to continue to do it because every team's trying to catch up to Texas and to everybody else who's leading the NIL arms race right now. So, and I don't know how you compete without it. Look at, like I said, Patrick's brought up LSU. LSU's held two of their top, four best players they got in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Skeens and Tommy, I think his name is White, if I'm not mistaken. Tommy Tanks, I think they call him anyway. But yeah, and then we talked about basketball. I mean, that's the way of the world now in basketball. You have a new look roster every year.
Yeah.
Just because you're going to rebuild it every year through the portal.
Yeah, because you're going to go out and the people are going to try and find playing time and whatever, and not wait it out anymore.
Yeah.
And if your draft spot doesn't go up, then people don't necessarily want to. I mean, and shout out for guys like Tyrese Hunter and Dylan Dessou, both coming back and playing for Texas. Both could have transferred. Both could have. Dylan Mitchell, all could have. So there are guys. I don't want to say nobody does it because guys do stick around and play. But yeah, it is very much. But that's also because Texas raising the money to keep them.
That's part of it. Like Dylan Dessou coming back. Let's not act like, he wasn't compensated for that decision, and he should have been.
I'm sure Dylan Mitchell was compensated for his decision. I'm sure Tyrese Hunter was compensated for his decision.
It's part of it. That is part of it. Texture says, I am a former forum under in the weed game. I think I want to say a forum funder, so say, in the weed game. And the underground market will always exist because it's cheaper for the consumer and more money for the grower. Same thing in sports. Okay? There you go. So there'll always be an underground market for it, even when you try to make it above board. But, yes, interesting that for right now, maybe the SEC, maybe they're more underground than most of the Power 5 conferences. That'd be my one theory I'd throw out there as to why they are fourth on that list.
Yeah, it's either that or they're just not reporting anything.
Which would both sound very SEC-like.
Yes.
You want
to know what we're doing? No, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. But the state law, to hell with the state law. It's the SEC. The SEC law. All right, that's what we're talking about. All right, we come back. We'll get into another Off the Record on the other side right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about my friends over at Ironworkers Local 482. They've been helping shape Austin since 1935. As the city continues to grow and thrive, so do our good friends at Ironworkers Local Union 482. You see the labors of their love all over this great city. As a matter of fact, you may be driving by one of them right now and not even know it. An iconic, exquisite landmarks like DKR Stadium and the Pennybacker Bridge. And right now, they're hiring over 3,000 people. That's right, 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. So if you're frustrated with your work choices, you want a new, exciting career, and you want to become valued, and also you want something that will challenge you, how about becoming a valued member of Ironworkers Local 482 and accept the challenge of becoming the best version of yourself while helping shape our city's economic development? Like I said, right now they're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas, and you can become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that help shape the future of our great city. Maximize your potential today and be your best self. Simply apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Oh, man, what movie do I remember this from? Is it My Best Friend's Wedding? It's like a random scene in a rom-com where this is like a big song, like they break out into song. And they sing this song.
Sounds like something I would not know.
It is definitely My Best Friend's Wedding, I believe it is.
Okay.
I don't know why I know that. I shouldn't know that. But Smooth Soul Monday, this is the Aretha Franklin? Who's this?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if she's the original or after that, but I know it's like a famous song people have done over and over again. But yes, I do remember that randomly. Also, since we're getting into kind of random topics of conversation, Patrick, last week when you missed the whole week, dude, I never got your opinion on the submersal, and the billionaires that was submerged. Remember they went down looking for the wreckage of the Titanic in the submersal that was obviously a shoddy, kind of makeshift submersible. We learned later on that he took all these shortcuts and that he basically made his own rules, didn't follow all the industry standards, and that's a big part of why they had such a obviously disastrous outcome to that situation. But what were your thoughts? Because I know you didn't follow it because you were on vacation, but. What were you even was it compelling at all to you?
No, not really. I kind of stayed away from it. I could tell you that when I saw photos of it, it made me claustrophobic just seeing. And I was like,
how could it not?
I'm like, why? I couldn't imagine if you paid me a bunch of money to be like, hey, just take this to go in the Gulf of Mexico. I'd be like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm gonna freak out. 10 seconds into this.
You wouldn't.
And then they're just gonna be like, "Oh yeah, we haven't like we're still above water." I'm like, "No, no,
you
out."
wouldn't go into Lady Bird Lake with that.
No, freak out immediately.
I know,
Let me out.
And then you learn like they actually welded them, like welded it shut and all that because they had to because of the pressure.
Yeah.
It was very sad. I just wanted to
Yeah.
get your thoughts about it because we hadn't talked about
No,
it.
that was that
that
freaks me out.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Are you naturally claustrophobic, or did that just make you claustrophobic?
I've had some things in my life that made me that way more.
Yeah. What's the most claustrophobic moment in your life? I'm trying to think of mine.
Yeah, I know it, but it's not good radio to talk about.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it's not good radio. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to know that. I think it's like which one's the CT scan? Which one you go inside the big machine?
That one where they pull you in and then
Yeah,
it's
I'm
like
not
the
sure
magnets.
exactly
I
what
think it's CT.
Is it a CT scan? I think it's a
so.
CT scan. I did one of those, and and you got to stay still for like 30 minutes or something, and it's just making all these weird noises around you. That thing, that's probably the most claustrophobic moment I've had.
But like, is that one? Because here's the thing. I think that one you can still like technically, if you needed to get out of it, you could.
And you can see you're not closed
yeah,
until you're just
so
like
I think
mostly
that one's a little. It's more the thing of
off.
like
You're totally closed in.
where you're like, oh no, if something goes wrong,
No,
it's over.
That's one of my nightmares.
Yeah.
I got like I said, it's nightmare fuel for me. Yeah, but I don't go. You know, I don't mess with the ocean. I have so much respect for the ocean.
I
would never go that deep into her.
No,
okay, you know what? I meant that as a mother. I meant that as a Mother Earth. Sorry.
Look, Rod knows when to pull out of the ocean.
I meant as Mother Earth.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah.
It just sounded bad. I apologize. But yes, I respect the ocean too much to do stuff like that. Deep sea fishing.
MRI machine. That's what they're saying.
MRI machine. Thank you, MRI
what they're
machine.
saying.
Thank you very much.
We're not doctors, clearly.
I'm terrible at that kind of stuff, obviously. All right, getting back to the topic at hand. Let's get back to the sports. We'll talk NBA on the other side, right here on Ball Don't Lie. 104.9 Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. That's my man Patrick, the Idealionaire, who's back with us. That's when my man Patrick plays some jams intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who might have had a tough weekend. Also for you, if you might have had a tough weekend. So we appreciate his efforts on a Smooth Soul Monday. You also can hit us up on the Specs text line, 512-337-3776. That's the number to the Specs text line. You can hit us up via Twitter, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis at It's Patrick Davis in the Twitterverse. I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. If you want to reach out to my man Harge, he actually is on vacation, well-deserved vacation, but you can cyberstalk my man Harge at Hardball Harge in the Twitterverse. We'll get to some NBA news, notes, and nuggets here. Also, man, it's another story that's brewing in the sports world that I haven't heard mentioned at all, and maybe it's because now we've had kind of, I don't know, maybe we're at the point now we're talking about the Public Investment Fund, the PIF. Maybe it's a little wearing a little thin. Maybe at this point it's starting to become annoying to keep talking about the Saudi-backed fund, and maybe people don't want to get into the conversation anymore after what happened with the PGA. But they're making another significant investment in sports. I don't know if people want to talk about it. Probably don't. So,
Don't want to hate another thing about sports?
yeah, I mean it's significant, I think, but I don't think people want to talk about it. So I'll mention it briefly. We won't go into it in great detail.
What was that? What was the show that was on ESPN that was like that? It was just a depressing show where it was just negative things about sports.
Oh, was it
Behind the Line?
Between the line? No, you're right. Yeah. No, you're right. I remember the show.
It was my least favorite show in the world. And you're like, I'm sure this is important, but you're literally on a station that's just for sports fans, and then you're like, sports are terrible, and you're a bad person for liking them. You're like, come on, man, trying to enjoy Sports Center.
No, I think you're right about that. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to be a buzzkill. Like, I don't want to be a buzzkill because I know that's kind of a buzzkill topic. It's like bringing up the, like when we were talking about the I don't know, the protests or stuff like that in the NFL, that became kind of a buzzkill because it just put everybody in a bad mood.
Yep.
Initially from the word go. And they didn't care about the content about it. People just got upset and they just didn't want to hear it. The Odds of Texas became like that. It just didn't even matter if it was compelling content or a compelling update. People were just tired of it and they didn't want to hear about it at all. I don't know if we're there with the PIF and the Public Investment Fund, but I think it's getting close. So, like I said, I'll mention it briefly, but I won't harp on it for too long. We'll talk some NBA here. I want to get back to the conversation about the Wemby mania. My man Patrick, who is a Spurs fan, that was the big topic of conversation in the NBA, of course, last week when it became official that Wembanyama was a San Antonio Spur. They drafted him number 1 overall. And what I liked, Patrick, was the kind of whirlwind tour that he took. I thought it was great. I know the NBA was a big part of this too, but they did a great job along with the San Antonio Spurs. I saw him everywhere. Like from the beginning of that day of the NBA draft, probably even before that, because he went on the podcast. Actually, I want to say that was before the draft. That was like 2 days before the draft.
Yeah.
Right? That was a couple. We played that before the draft. So a couple of days before the draft, he started making the rounds. Maybe like 2 days before the draft.
Basically, he got done in the French finals the end of the week before the draft, and then was in America.
Had to be by
Monday
or Tuesday.
So it was basically the whole week.
And they must have the schedule ready to go because he once he got to New York. So Thursday, they said basically finished playing basketball. You're right. So Thursday before last. So basically, that's when he got done playing, and then the next week he jet sets to America. And he tosses the first pitch to the Yankees game. I believe he went on that JJ Redick podcast over the weekend, and they probably introduced it or at least revealed it that week. Went on Good Morning America. So he was on Good Morning America, kind of talking to not necessarily the NBA hardcore fans, just sports fans or just pop culture fans, and at least now they know who Wembanyama is as well. And he got the meet the rookies thing, which is also something else I saw him with, kind of meet the rookies. They had all the different rookies out there, which was really cool. And then he went back to San Antonio after being drafted, after doing the car wash with all the different broadcast networks and different media outlets. Then he went back to San Antonio, and that's where they had the party for him. The celebration for Wemby. That's where he gets the breakfast tacos, I believe. I saw the video of him being handed breakfast tacos like on a tarmac.
Yes.
And he like grabbed them in a brown paper bag and he just got it like from whoever. So it was great. And we actually have some video, some sound of him being asked about his breakfast tacos. So we'll get into that too. And then he had the Spurs welcome event. And then he was spotted at one of Greg Popovich's favorite restaurants in Southtown, upscale. I don't know if you've been to this or not. And apparently that's kind of the last place he was spotted. And San Antonio Spurs fans apparently been giving him his space. I mean, they loved on him when he first got there, but he's been seen a couple of places just kind of doing his thing.
Yeah.
And they take a picture and they keep it moving.
Keep moving. He had the dinner with all the Spurs.
Oh,
which
with
was
royalty.
that picture was just great. And then it's also great because you're like, David Robinson's like 7'1".
Yes.
That picture.
This is
Manu
like
Ginobili looks like
dinner at Bliss. I don't know what Bliss is. Apparently, really nice restaurant. I have to try it out if I go down there in San Antonio. And that's where they took the picture you're referring to with Sean Elliott, David Robinson, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, and Wembanyama. Yeah. Somebody's gonna make that they're gonna paint that portrait or something one day. I'm sure.
Yeah. And what's funny about it is Tony's not there.
Yeah. What the hell? Where's Tony?
Well, I think that's the deal. Is they're like, Tony. Like, you and Tony know each other, so we got to introduce you to the rest of the crew, and kind of if he's there, he's gonna take over the conversation. So let's do the.
Oh, that's a great point.
I don't think Tony was I don't think he's been in San Antonio recently.
Yeah,
he still has a place there, I believe. But
yeah, he actually has business overseas.
Yes, I believe he's still in France.
Like
so he is. So he's not in there. Where the rest of the guys are still around the franchise a lot more.
Man, you'd have thought they could have
flown him in for that.
I don't know. It just seems like that's the only piece they was missing. Otherwise, this is one of the most iconic photos for any franchise in the history
just
of
George
their
Gervin
franchise.
walking, putting in his hand.
You need the ice. That'd be great. That would be great. But you're right. Tim Duncan and David Robinson. I mean, Tim Duncan. How tall is he?
6. I mean, he was listed at 7 foot. But.
7 foot, and David Robinson 7 foot. I'm pretty old, so when you're old, you shrink a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
but they're both around 6'11", 7 foot.
And he looks at least. I'm sorry, I'm not joking. It's at least. Oh man, 7. He looks he looks like 6 to 7 inches taller than both of them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's not true, but that's how it looks.
Yeah,
man. That is unbelievable. So I'm sure Spurs fans out there are really excited. He did say, or he didn't say, but it was reported, I should say. So I'm sure he agreed to this, that he is going to participate in the summer league of some kind. Like, we don't know exactly how much.
So, yeah, we would assume that he's not going to do much in Sacramento. They're doing the California, like the smaller one. They're doing California. Some people do Utah. Some do California. Some do neither. But they're going to do that first. I doubt he may not even go to that, but I would assume he will. But I doubt he'll play. We're gonna see a lot more Jabari Rice in that one.
Hey, I'm cool with that, baby. I'm cool with Jabari Rice, man.
Which I love. I saw his Instagram. He's posted where he's got a place there in San Antonio now. He just posted something where he's in the locker room with the Spurs. So very cool to see him going. So he'll be getting some playing time for them during the summer league. But yeah, so I would assume more in Vegas because also when you get to Vegas, that is where it's the unofficial hangout for all the players too, where you start to see all the pros coming in, all the veterans coming into Vegas. It's a cool place to hang out already.
Oh, no doubt.
And then they go to summer league during the game, but you're going to start to see those guys. It's going to be their first chance to kind of come over and be like, let's go gauge out the rookie. And guys like LeBron and maybe Jamal Murray go out there and say hey to him, and some of these. Jason Tatum or Jimmy Butler may go out there, and you kind of get those guys that are more veterans that have been around come and be like, "Hey, man, let's gauge him out and go say hey to him," because we haven't really talked to him yet because we couldn't really get a hold. But now he's in summer league. Let's go see what's up.
Yeah, it's almost like a basketball convention that because the old guys go back there. They get to look at the young guys, or hell, they get to hang out because it's Vegas. So you can almost say it's a work trip. It's a work trip, and I'm sure Adam Silver encourages, hey man, and the shoe companies, they all encourage these stars like go out there and show your face for a little bit and go hang out in Vegas. It's on us. Just go kick it there for a day or two.
And I mean, and all the hotels and everybody wants them out there because they know it's now becoming a bigger deal for fans. Because
they making a trip
I know
now.
Who's gone out there, anybody who's covered it, is basically like, dude, you won't even realize once you go and are just walking around the casinos, you'll be like, half of the league is here.
Yeah, no, it's like a convention now. It's like an unofficial NBA convention. And that's smart, too, now that you have hardcore NBA fans who will build their vacation plans around it now.
Yeah.
They were like, all right, man, let's go.
No, I plan to go one year.
Well, because it's probably cheaper to get your kids a chance to see, you know what I mean, like NBA talent up close rather than trying to get it if you are in an NBA city. But even then, it's a little tough.
And two, you can be like, hey, go to the summer league. Daddy will be back. He has to go gamble away your college fund.
You can't just, that's a good point.
Because you will see a lot of times it is like kids.
The kids just
with
hanging out
no
with a group.
adult supervision.
Yeah, with a big group of kids. It's like, who the hell is chaperoning these kids? It's like, he told them don't leave this damn place.
I'm watching on TV.
Yeah. That's a great point, though, man. The NBA's done a really good job with that, too. Getting back to it, the Wembanyama, though, and, you know, my favorite part of this for Spurs fans, and there's a lot to be excited about and optimistic about, of course. But without getting deep into the weeds of the X's and O's and how they're going to use them and all that kind of stuff, which I think is also really, really compelling because he's a unicorn. He's an alien. We've never seen anything like him before in the history of the NBA. So how the hell he's used and how they decide to build it and construct a roster around him is going to be fascinating. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, like a perfect example is Jokic. You see Jokic, and it took them a while to figure out what that roster is.
Because he's so unique.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you're like a guy like Aaron Gordon, you don't know when you get Jokic, and when he starts to be at that next level, you don't know, we need an Aaron Gordon who is we don't need a five that does it. We need a guy who can be a really good on-the-ball defender, but a bigger guy who can come in and play a little bit of this and then maybe shoot a little bit of threes. But you don't know that that's what you're trying to build, and you just need to find a prototype to build that guy because you have good coaches.
Yeah.
You don't know that until you really see, well, what are we missing? So you have to put everything together, throw it out there, go, who plays well with him, who has chemistry, what type of player do we need, and then what are we missing, and who can we get to that we can either draft somebody or find somebody and try and mold them into this piece that we need. And it just takes a little bit of time. And when you have the cap room and you have the flexibility they do right now, because you have a guy like Doug McDermott and Devontae Graham and a couple other guys that have a little bit more money on their contract, but they're a year or two left on them, and you can basically ride those out and then have $50 million in cap space in a year or two, and then go make a play for another big name. If you find a guy who you really want, you can pick up a couple other guys like a John Collins if that was a guy you felt you needed in a couple years. But John Collins is a guy that you may look at like an Aaron Gordon, where if you can put him in the right situation, you go, we can form him into what we need. And we can get him. We know the athleticism is there. We know that the work is all there. Everything's there. It's just he doesn't play well in the system. So I think that's where the Spurs are just waiting to see what they got with Wemby and what they have with the rest of the team with him.
Yeah.
Because it's a big difference, too, when, we talked about Texas basketball earlier. There is no number one. There is now a number one in San Antonio.
No doubt.
There is a guy who needs to take X amount of shots every game. There's a guy who needs to touch the ball X amount of times every game. There's a guy who needs to, bring the ball up in at times. And the guy, you have that guy now, and that hasn't been this case in San Antonio since Kawhi left.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you really now have to figure out how does Keldon Johnson play when he's going to get the ball a lot less? And Devin Vassell, now that he's going to get the ball, he's got to get the ball out of his hands a little bit quicker. He can't dribble up and kind of look around as much. We got to get into this offense. How does Jeremy Sohan match up? How does he play? Is he a guy that's a guy off the bench where you're not necessarily starting him because they're both going to play more of the four? And are you going to take him off the bench as an energy guy? Or is he able to play and you just play small ball and he plays your five for you? All those types of things you're just going to have to kind of see. And when your expectations for season one isn't huge, you just don't want to offset your progress into season two. Yeah,
and I wonder, you're right about that because you don't know how long it'll take them to construct a roster around them until you can decipher exactly what you need and diagnose what you need. And that's going to take you at least a season to see
which players are you worth your long-term deals, which all that it's a unique scenario where as much as you can scout it on everything else, he's been playing with much lesser players in the French league. And he's been playing against much lesser players. So you just have to take that into account and say there were some good players there and we can learn some from it, but we need to figure out fitting into what Pop's offense and Pop building that offense. because he's gonna have to rework it now to fit what
That's
he
what I'm
does.
saying. Yeah, the offense is going to change anyway.
Yeah.
It's going to be whatever works for Wemby is pretty much going to be the offense. He's also skipping the FIBA World Cup basketball championships. He's going to skip that and focus on the NBA season and the Olympics. Remember, he played in like 62 games in the French League total. And if they count that with the NBA season, and hopefully there's a play-in in there or something, but then you count the Paris Olympics, just those 3 seasons in a 2-year span, that's about 170, 180 games. And on a frame like his, and I'm not saying that he can't handle it or he's injury prone. I don't know if you want to take the kind of chances that he's playing that much basketball. So that's why FIBA's out.
And it's just a large upstep of what you've been doing. Like your training regimen and everything else.
Everything.
You just have to adjust it all on the fly. I do appreciate he came out and said it wasn't the Spurs who told him to not do FIBA. He said it was his own medical staff that advised him that way.
Smart staff.
Well, smart of him to understand, hey, man, you have to get ahead of these things because people are going to make a story out of everything you do. So if you do that, then they're going to go, well, Spurs already tell him what to do. Spurs are, he's leaving. He's going to demand a trade next year.
No, that's my favorite part of the whole Wemby narrative is that, Wemby cried when they drafted him, and he's been talking about how he always dreamed of being drafted by the Spurs. It's the dream team that he always wanted to play for. It's a team that his mom and dad wanted him to get drafted by. It is a team that all the fans in France wanted him to be drafted by because over in France, they have a different perception of the Spurs than we do here in America. They don't see them as a small market team that happen to be a dynasty. They see them as just a dynasty. And he wanted to play for them, and the fact that now, I'm just assuming you won't have to worry in the future about a guy who wants to leave and is thinking about going to a glamour market or somewhere where the grass is greener and coming off the Kawhi breakup, which, I mean, honestly, there haven't been too many breakups in the NBA that have been as embarrassing for a franchise, considering he tried to ghost the franchise, wanted nothing to do with them, and wanted to leave, and did leave. And by the way, they traded him. And when they traded him, he goes to Toronto and makes them an NBA champion. Like that is heartbreaking embarrassment for a franchise.
It is now.
And now you get to come back with Wemby, who all he wants is to be a San Antonio Spur.
It is, and it's not only that. You also get to look over in the side mirror and be like, "Oh, he's hurt again. Oh, he's hurt again.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
Oh, right.
Good point.
So
Great
when you say,
Even
"Hey, you
sweeter.
get this new thing," you went through it. He's playing half seasons. And that appears to be, for him, okay for the rest of his career.
You're right. He really did. He peaked. Like that was that year after y'all traded him to Toronto. That was the peak of Kawhi Leonard.
He did win an NBA championship with the Spurs and win Finals MVP in that as well.
I
get
know,
it was not
but
his peak. It was not his peak.
It was not his peak, though.
It was not, but
Yeah.
he did do it for the Spurs as well.
No, he was great.
Which is why the reason it hurt so bad was because you were like, so many more of these in the future.
He could have definitely he would have got at least one more with the Spurs. No
Yeah.
question, with him as the single, at least the big piece that you were building around. And no, it was, like I said, I hate to bring it up, Spurs. I'm not trying to embarrass you guys or shame you guys. I just love the Shakespearean irony of that now, full circle, you get to rebuild with the best prospect since LeBron James. And now that embarrassing, soul-crushing incident with Kawhi seems like it was a long, long time ago. Seems like forever ago.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say as a Spurs fan, when he's like, I'm a damn Spur, that was just, that felt really, really good.
Say it with his chest.
That felt really, really good to have somebody be the number 1 overall pick, this prospect. You win the draft lottery, you see him celebrate there, and then to really want to play in San Antonio. It's just, it is.
And he's going to make San Antonio, like, now one of the basketball meccas of this world, potentially.
How many small business loans have been put in to open French restaurants in San Antonio?
No, seriously.
I feel at least 3 have already gone in.
And all you need is him to endorse it, and you're good. You get
Hey,
Wemby
come on
to
down
go
to Wimby's.
to Wimby's. That'd be great. Speaking of the love that Spurs have for French players and French players have for the Spurs organization, Spurs, how about this? They drafted 2 of them. There are 5 French players drafted in this year's draft, and the Spurs drafted 2 of them.
Yeah.
It is the second straight year and the third time overall that 4 or more French players were drafted in the same draft. And there have been more NBA players from France than any other country outside of North America.
Hey, and by the way, y'all, those Olympics are going to be fun to watch with France too.
Oh yeah, they're second, right?
They're projected to do very well, and that is going to be also to how well does Wemby do in the 2 years, because he's going to be another year's progressing when he goes to that
2024 Olympics,
and if he is,
and it's in Paris.
Yeah,
is it?
I believe so.
Oh,
yeah, it is. That is going to be.
That's going to be good. And that's why they were. No, I don't know if they were upset, but that's why some of them were disappointed about the FIBA announcement, because I believe they were silver medalists.
Yeah, I think they were going to do well, but
now they're not going to be do as well.
No, but they will. I think they're going to be much happier with him being able to be there.
Will the other French players play? The ones I just mentioned, there were like 4 of them drafted in.
Yeah, some will. I don't know if Soko, the Spurs got as well. That is another French player.
Will he play?
But he was already a G League Ignite, so you don't know if he's.
So they may not have their full complement until the Olympics.
Yeah,
yeah.
And Wemby is also probably the only one who can dictate fully, hey, I want to go do that. A lot of these other players don't necessarily have the pull. If their
organization tells them.
Yeah, their franchise goes, no, we don't want you to go get hurt and do that. We're paying you a lot of money. Whereas in San Antonio, you go, look, whatever you want.
Whatever makes Wemby happy.
Whatever makes you happy.
Whatever makes Wemby happy, man.
We want to help you make the right decision.
Especially coming after the Kawhi thing, man. It was like, hey, Wemby, what do you want? What do you want, Wemby? What do you want?
Yeah.
That's what we want. We want what Wemby wants.
Let's open a line of communication.
For real. No, but he's so damn happy, man. He's gleeful. Like when he's with the Spurs and talk about the Spurs. So I'm happy for Spurs fans out there. Real quick there, before we get to the break here, couple of stories, NBA stories that I wanted to get to. And this one broke today. It's a trade. Asia Rosorowski broke it earlier today that the Hawks are trading John Collins, essentially trying to get rid of that contract. But the Hawks making a move earlier today to trade John Collins, and they're going to get Rudy Gay. So they trade John Collins to the Jazz, and the Hawks are going to acquire forward Rudy Gay and a future second-round pick for Collins, who was owed.
And I'm a big Rudy Gay fan, but he was on the backside of his career when he was with the Spurs several years ago. He is 36 years old.
I didn't realize he was that old.
Yeah, he's been around for a little while, so he's a good veteran. I'm sure hopefully he will stay there and get to play some. But yeah, that is not necessarily. That was more of just a salary dump. It wasn't for the player.
It's gonna be so much of that salary dump stuff.
Well, and I mean they're at a crossroads right now because they made that trade for DeJounte Murray, and then they had that terrible start to the season. They get Quinn Snyder, and it turns around a little bit. But basically, if it doesn't work out, so you need to pick up some different players. They signed a lot of guys to bad contracts, in Atlanta. So you had to get a little bit more flexibility in there. Because you are at a point, if you get to the trade deadline this year and it's still not working, you're going to start taking calls. And if you get into if you miss the playoffs next year, you're a playing team this year.
Mm-hmm. It means you're regressing.
If you miss then it's like, okay, is Trae Young experiment over? Do we go forward with DeJounte Murray and we try and build around that, or do we trade DeJounte Murray and Trae Young and restart completely? But I think this is going to be the year of the Trae Young. Do we think we can advance with him, or is this we're going to have to figure something out?
Yeah, because, and like I said, you brought this up months ago, but I did some reading and found a great Forbes article breaking it down in detail. But basically in the next 3 years, the new CBA kicks in July 1st. Yeah. And it essentially is going to have some huge restrictions on teams who are basically building their roster, and they're being irresponsible in their salary cap approach by building their roster. So the new CBA basically introduces a second salary cap apron of like $17.5 million above the luxury tax line, essentially giving teams a little wiggle room. Say you screwed up something, say something ain't right, they'll give you $17 million of wiggle room so that they're not gonna just totally penalize you and have very strict and harsh penalties for you going over the first luxury tax line and threshold. But when you go past the second apron of the luxury tax, things get real crazy. So beginning this summer, teams above the second apron will lose access to the taxpayer mid-level exception, and they'll be limited to taking back no more than 110% of the salary that they send out in trades. Right now, I think it's like 125, 130%.
Yeah.
The penalties get even worse in 23-24. Starting next season, teams above the second apron can't take back more money than they send out in trades.
Yep.
They can't trade a first-round pick 7 years in the future, can't aggregate salaries in trades, or receive players on existing contracts if they sign and trade away their own free agents. In other words, by 2024 and 2025, teams above the second apron will largely be limited to just re-signing their own players and handing out veteran minimum contracts in free agency. That's it. Basically, it's going to be that restrictive and that harsh if you go over the second apron of the salary cap. So no more Clippers and Warriors who have these billionaire owners who I got the money. I don't give a damn about the luxury tax.
Yeah.
I'll spend it because I'll make it back when we win the title. Yeah. That's not the way it's going to work anymore.
No, they were trying to get, I believe the Warriors were a big reason for it, but trying to get to that point where they're like, well, it's not like, how do you expect us to compete when these guys are willing to trade?
Nine figures.
And then they get these trade exemptions where then they can trade. Like the Warriors, what they did was they just keep trading pieces and then re-sign. And then you go, oh, now we got a Wiggins. We were able to make 3 trades, and now we get another superstar, and we can just pay him now. And it doesn't matter. We're just going under the cap again.
Yep.
Like, we'll just go in that luxury. We don't care. They're trying to get away from that. I get it. It's going to be interesting. I don't know how it's going to end up because the basic theory that most people have is that it's going to cost a lot of players in that middle range a lot of money.
The veterans, yeah.
But like just those guys there were normally hey, man, you can make $20 million a year. You're going to be now down to about 12 again. Which is still good money, but,
yeah.
but no,
Yeah.
but I mean,
but still, I get you. Their value
but
drops.
over 4 years,
Yeah.
what, $8 million a year over 4 years? It's a lot of money to lose over that deal. The question is going to be, there's 2 parts. The new TV deal, how much money are they able to get for that new TV deal, which is going to raise the salary cap, which is kind of where all this is based in, that they expect the salary cap to take a big enough jump. And then 2 is going to be those max salaries. Do people stop signing guys to max salaries like a Bradley Beal, who's not a number 1 guy? He's not going to win you a franchise. Like, you can't win with him as a number 1 guy.
Everybody can't get max salaries, man.
Do those guys start to cut away from number 2 and number 3 guys getting max salaries? I think that makes more sense, but people are so worried about losing them that they just they're still continuing. There's still need
Can't
for
risk it.
So that's the one that it'll be interesting to see going forward. But we do see a lot of teams trying to get out of it. Also, Atlanta, we talked about DeJounte Murray's a free agent next year. So if they're working on an extension, you got to clear up some cap space to go give him $40 million a year.
Man.
And you're already paying Trae Young $45 million a year.
Man, yeah, the NBA, yeah, it's
one of the reasons the Spurs traded DeJounte was they were not going to
pay him that kind of money.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you're seeing a couple of teams now, and the Suns, I don't know if they count because their new owner, there's going all in, and then there's doing what he's doing.
There's playing NBA 2K.
Pretty much, yeah. And then I think Boston I think is trying to give it one last go before they got to deal with their salary cap issues.
Yeah.
So they're like, no, let's go. We're close. Let's go. Let's see if we can get it before the salary cap gets too restrictive in 2 years.
Yeah, but I mean, they already moved off Marcus Smart.
Honestly, him going to Memphis, I like that. I love that.
I
move.
like it for Memphis, but I'm just saying that was already Boston moving off of one of their big names.
Yeah.
Just to, hey, man, we're not going to be able to, we can't keep everybody, especially if we're going to try and keep Grant Williams. That's more money. So, yeah, I mean, we're seeing it more and more. Warriors gave away Jordan Poole.
Yeah, oh, man. You know what? That's Jordan Poole's going to be happy about that because now Jordan Poole can just go be Jordan Poole.
Did you see Draymond Green don't like Chris Paul?
I did see him say he don't like Chris Paul. He said he respects him though, but don't.
He
like
respects
him.
But I don't like him.
Does that mean he's not going to? I mean, because
no, he's trying to. He's peeing on the floor.
I mean, the Warriors are
like
expected to re-sign him, but they're trying to anyway.
I think Draymond Green's just trying to set the pecking order straight. Hey, let you know, I know you're a Hall of Famer, but I'm the greatest player to ever live, so you got to get behind me in line in the Warriors pecking order. Like,
and you know what? The more I think about the Draymond Green, Jordan Poole punch in the offseason, I do think that I'm not saying that somebody within the organization was ordering a code red, but I do think there were people on the roster who were starting to get a little bit annoyed with Jordan Poole.
Oh,
stuff
100%.
that we didn't know about, but stuff that they knew about,
100%.
and that he was putting action into what a lot of people were saying.
There's a lot of
he felt
speculation
justified doing that.
There was a lot of speculation that Draymond Green opting out, part of the deal was he opted out and said, "Don't call me until Jordan Poole's gone."
I wouldn't doubt that at all. That makes yes.
And not that he wasn't going to answer the phone call, but that he was going to try and play hardball with him and be like, hey, I'll be the bad guy. You get rid of him before, and I'll call you back.
Yeah. And in the playoffs, he probably felt more justified taking a stance like that after watching the playoffs and people criticizing Jordan Poole. But I'm starting to think that everybody felt a certain way about Jordan Poole within the organization, and it just took Draymond Green to go, oh, you know what? I got this.
Yeah, let me go do it.
I got
and
this.
Steve Kerr don't like him either.
That's what I'm saying.
Steve Kerr doesn't like anyone under the age of 35.
He's gonna crotchety old man.
No, that team is just getting older and older.
Hey, he's becoming Pop in a sense. More like Pop
young,
every day.
Pop loves them young kids.
Well, now Wemby.
No, but last year he was like, this is the most fun I've had forever.
Well, and the Spurs were one of the youngest teams in the league last year.
He liked it because he didn't have pressure.
That's true. That's about to change. Well, not really, not immediately.
Yeah, quit. But you're gonna have to answer a lot more questions, and he don't like that.
He don't like that.
He'll get back on TV more because we don't want to see Wemby.
Oh, you're right. You're right. The spotlight's about to come back on Pop now. Big.
People are gonna get mad at load management because you're load managing a rookie.
And now they're gonna get mad talking about like, oh, he's getting political. Like, no, he's always been political. Y'all just stop paying attention to him.
He was still political while you're not.
I know. Like, he's always saying stuff like that. We just stop paying attention. When they don't win championships, we don't watch the Spurs. All right. We come back. We'll get into Texans signing Will Anderson to a new contract. We'll discuss that on the other side, and also some other NFL news, notes, and nuggets. We may know the featured team for Hard Knocks. All that and more, and an update on the College World Series right here on Ball Don't Lie. Wonderful. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about our friends over at Apple Leasing, because you want friends like our friends at Apple Leasing. Because getting a new car, it can be a really stressful experience. Very satisfying, very rewarding to get that new car smell and get the car that's perfect for you and your family. But let's admit, it can be very time-consuming. Price shopping, going to different dealerships, trying to figure out the perfect car for you and your family and your situation. Also, the price shopping, making sure that the price and the payment plan is compatible with your budget. That also can be really stressful. That can be something that's really time consuming. Well, my friends at Apple Leasing, they can take the stress and take all the headaches out of that process for you, and all you're left with is getting the car that you always wanted. Apple Leasing has the ability to put you in any make or model vehicle that you want. The professionals over at Apple Leasing can help you get the price you want, the payment you want on the car that you want. I know, it sounds really simple, right? Yeah, it is really simple. All it takes is one phone call or one click on Apple Leasing's website, and you'll get a quote on any make or model vehicle that you want. Maybe it's an SUV, maybe it's a sedan, whatever it is. You let Apple Leasing know. You let them know what price you're willing to pay, what kind of payment plan you want to be on. Let them know if you're already in a leasing agreement. They can help you out with that. You give them all the information, and you let them do all the hard work. That's why they've been doing business here in Austin for almost 40 years, because they do it the right way. They take care of all their customers. And right now, my friends, over at Apple Leasing, they can help you get the price you want or payment you want on the car that you want. We all know that time is money, and my friends at Apple Leasing, they're going to save you both. So give them a call, 512-346-9977. That's 512-346-9977 to let them see how much money they can save you. Apple Leasing gets all the same discounts and all the same incentives that the dealers do, except my friends at Apple Leasing, they pass those savings on to you, the customer. So give them a call, 512-346-9977, or visit appleleasing.com. That's appleleasing.com. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. And I got to say, I'm unfamiliar with this Smooth Soul Jam.
So this is a song by Eugene Record,
Oh, I don't even know.
who is one of the Shy Lights.
Oh, now I know the highlights.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
song's called Overdose of Joy.
I like the
And
like the
the
theme.
song basically starts where he is passed out in the middle of a floor, and then humble brags through the whole first verse, where he's like, he's got money, and he's dressed nice, and he's got his wallet, so he wasn't robbed. Like, he's so handsome, so he's great. He couldn't be a medical. And then they're like, you know what? He's smiling so big, I bet he had an overdose of joy. And then,
No.
and that's,
Whoa. Why the? Oh man.
until he had an overdose of joy is what the song's called. And they say
Wow.
overdose of joy. The second verse is where it gets crazy, because then he's like, and I woke up and I heard my girl, and I was like, hey baby, come for more. And she's like, honey, the doctor said you need some rest. And you're like, you're in a hospital in the
Hold
second
up,
verse.
this is dark.
Yeah, he's
What?
in a hospital. Like, hey baby, you ready to get busy? And she's like, you were in a hospital.
But he's still so high on joy.
Yes,
that
he is so
like-
overdose of joy.
Whoa.
That's how good this woman was to him.
Hold on, what's the name of this song again?
Overdose of Joy by Eugene Record.
Okay,
It's-
man.
It's bonkers, and I love it because it's so catchy, and it's just a happy, catchy song. But the fact that when he's like, "Hey, baby, you come here for more," she's like, "The doctor said you need some rest."
This is a dark place, man. This song. It started in a dark place too, I guess.
Yeah, I like the first lyrics are like, "I woke up or I was found sprawled out on the floor." Wow, it's just a crazy song about a guy who I guess had a heart attack or did some other thing.
No, we know. Yeah, yeah. Overindulged.
Overindulged.
Yes.
And then they came in and they're just like, and he just in his head he saw the MTs come in. They were like, "We got CCs over there," and he's like, you know what? I bet they're pretty jealous.
Now I'm curious how it ends. Now,
No,
like,
it just ends with him singing "Overdose of Joy" over and over again. But it's because it's never addressed that
If-
he is dying. That is
Yeah.
not addressed in his brain. Everything's fine.
you got to
It's-
read the Clintus Clues.
It is a delusional song.
So
and it's great.
the ending of it is like the Sopranos ending. It's left up to me to determine my imagination, determine what happens.
It's
Wow.
amazing.
Overdose of Joy is the name of the
Overdose
song, Chan.
of Joy by Eugene Record. It's off. The name of the album? The
What?
Eugene Record.
The Eugene record?
Because
wow,
his name is Eugene Record, and
wow.
then yeah, it's
Okay, Eugene. Well,
one of the Shy Lights.
That is.
That's the fun for any of you
I'm
guys who want
assuming
to look that up.
That was
And
not a follow-up record to this. This is the only
I
record he
believe
had.
I believe we went back to the Shy Lights after this.
Good. Hey, you know what? Smart move. Smart move,
But I'm
Eugene.
telling y'all, enjoy that and
Whoa.
just read the lyrics and hear the song about an upbeat person waking up in a hospital and be like, "Hey, what's
That
going
is
on, you guys?"
Fantastic.
It's wonderful.
That you're right about that. That's dark. That's dark. in a genius way though.
And that song is just so positive.
The
whole way. It's
upbeat,
like,
yeah, the
yes,
beats all
hey.
upbeat. If you don't listen to the lyrics, you will swear that it was about him falling in love, about having a good
he's
time.
having an overdose. He's just such a lucky fella.
Oh man, there you go. The 70s? That was 70s, right?
Yeah, maybe early 80s.
Oh, yeah. Weird time. Okay, real quick before we go to break here, there's a report from NBC Sports that the Jets believe that they are going to be the pick for Hard Knocks. Remember, the NFL can compel 4 teams to do the Hard Knocks series. Actually, 4 teams. It's the Jets, the Saints, the Bears, and the Commanders. And let's be honest, all we want to see is Aaron Rodgers and the drama king that he is. That's it. We don't care about anything else. Give us Aaron Rodgers, or you know what? Don't give me any of this. Just cancel it for the season, right? The NFL, you're a television.
If you have to go to New Orleans,
Oh,
just cancel it. Just no one's
exactly.
watching.
Just say you're taking a year off or something, man. Come on. Give us the Jets with Aaron Rodgers. Your College World Series finale. Damn, this is a good game right now.
It's a good game. Let's what? Spoilers.
Spoilers.
If you are recording this to watch, spoilers.
Yep, good, great. Thank you for that, Patrick. Spoilers right now. Top of the second inning, LSU up 3-2, and we're rooting for Florida. Why?
We're rooting for Florida
Patrick?
because LSU is tied with Texas in national championship. So if LSU wins, they go over. Also note, bases loaded, 1 out.
Bases. Oh, there's a lot of drama in this.
So
thing.
this
Yeah.
could get out of hand real quick.
All right, we'll come back. We'll get ready to wrap it up and put it in the oven right here on Ball Don't Lie. 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Getting ready to wrap it up and put it in the oven. Before we do, we'll let you know what's on tap. If you missed any part of any of the shows, just go to hornfm.com. You can catch up with them on the podcast page. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. If you're recording the College World Series, you want to wait till you get home, you can change the channel really quickly. Spoiler alert, right now we're up top of the second inning. And LSU's up 4-2.
4-2. Bases still loaded, still one out.
Ooh, they putting in some work right now.
Florida's already gone to the bullpen.
Yeah, this has been. I heard Coach Ty Harrington on B&E this morning talk about how he thought this was going to be a great game. He thought and all the logistics and really kind of the X's and O's strategy aside, just because it's the third game, and teams are kind of exhausted. They'll have to go all in, all hands on deck, everything you got, kitchen sink and all. And he thought that would end up being a great game between these two teams. Yeah. Hopefully that's the case.
And we know Florida's got firepower because they showed it yesterday.
Yeah, and LSU is embarrassed after yesterday.
Yeah, but I mean, if they get that lead, Skeen's probably going to come in just to try and hold them over for a couple innings somewhere along here.
Oh, you got to put them in at one point. You can't because if you end up losing this game, you know what? Maybe they control the game the whole game. But if you end up losing this game and you didn't play Skeens, you'd have to answer for that. To your crowd, to your fan base, to everyone. So I'm sure we'll see him at one point. Just don't know exactly how much. All right, so what's on tap for you tonight?
I'm probably going to be watching this game, and maybe I'll tune into some Astros, too, and see if I can see some Astros versus Cardinals.
Oh, yeah, I know. I've been sad about talking about the Astros lately. We will have some more Astros
We're
talk
going to get into it because this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Rangers-Astros.
Is that in the Gilf? Is that at the Gilf?
I think it's at the Gilf.
I think it's at the Gilf.
This is the first time in a long time they have both been good teams.
Yeah, well, it's the first time in forever.
They're both above 500.
Yeah, that's a good point. First time in forever that the Rangers have been top of the division, and the Astros have been third now.
Chasing?
That's crazy. It's just, we haven't had that in a while. So that'll be great drama. So we'll get into a ton of baseball, of course, later on. We'll talk some Astros. Tonight, I'm going to be watching this matchup tonight, I guarantee. So we'll talk a lot of College World Series tonight. And, yes, I was mistaken. You're supposed to be rooting for Florida.
Yes.
Because LSU's guys is 7-6.
So we're both tied at 6 national championships.
So
and you don't want them to go over. But right now, they're looking pretty good.
All right. So there you go. If you don't know who to root for, you're a Longhorn fan. Now you do. But rooting for the Gators. I want to thank my man Patrick for everything he does and glad to have him back. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. Talk about it right here on Ball Don't Lie. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Peace.